Okay, Marty.
It's 1:20 in the afternoon, and I just want to thank you guys, first of all, for inviting us into your house and putting Chick through the torture test here. And Don, similar, I know you've been involved in many interviews in your life and stuff, so it'll be a lot of fun. One of the things I want to really get into today is I've known that you've had a wonderful history living and raising your children in the Bayfield community. You served the community many years in both the church and through the Bayfield School District, and I'm really interested, obviously, in the associations you've had with the school district, and maybe I'll start out there a little bit. But before we do that, just tell us a little bit about who you are, Don and Chick. And I'd like you to introduce yourselves, and let's talk a little bit about your kids a little bit and grandchildren, and then we'll get into the nitty-gritty.
I can do that.
Yeah.
You want me to start or her?
Sure.
Well,
You go
yeah,
right
go ahead, Don.
Okay, I was born and raised in Ashland, Wisconsin. I went to the schools in Ashland. I lived a block from Wilmar School, where I went to grade school. I lived a block and a half from Ashland High School, where I went to high school. And I lived 2.5 blocks from Northland, where I went to college and graduated from Northland College. That was where I came from. I had originally, when I graduated from college, I was not thinking of a career in education. I was more giving thought to going into like mechanical engineering, something to that effect. And at that time, money was pretty hard to come by, whatnot. I don't know that my folks could have handled anything like that relative to going on there. So started at Northland, and all of a sudden, instead of being a freshman, I was a senior at Northland College, and did graduate from Northland. We had a major in mathematics and a minor in history.
What year did you get out of Northland?
I graduated from Ashland High School in 1951, and I graduated from Northland in 1955.
Okay.
That was a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
It wasn't 20 years ago, but a couple of years ago all that happened. So, and went there. Do you want me to go on relative to what I did beyond that?
Well,
When I first started out?
Take it where you want to.
Okay. I went on during the summer when I graduated in the spring of 1955 from Northland. I took a trip with a good fellow person that I had gone through all the way through kindergarten and before, and he was applying for a English teaching job at Spencer, 150 miles down the road on 13 going toward Marshfield. He wanted me to go with him. So I went with him, and we got down there, and they also had a math science job open. I hadn't applied for any job there or anywhere else at that time, really, and I ended up getting a job at Spencer, teaching high school math and science and doing some coaching there, and he ended up going somewhere else for a teaching job. So I spent 3 years at Spencer, and then was going with my childhood sweetheart at that time and through all of that. So I thought that after being there for 3 years, and Chick can tell you about herself a little bit, but beyond that, she was talking about doing this and doing that and everything, and said I didn't really want to get into getting married at that time because I was at Spencer yet, and she had one more year of college. My thought at the time is, if you want to go to Stevens Point and finish, fine, because then we could live in Spencer.
Where is Spencer?
Spencer is about 130 miles south of Ashland. It's just it's 9 miles north of Marshfield, right on Highway 13. Right. Small community at that time, and so then we ended up getting married that summer. Well, Chick can tell you about what she did after that point in time, but we ended up then, and after I taught there for 3 years, then we got married. We got married that summer.
So after I graduated.
After graduating from college.
So let's throw the ball over to Chick's side over there a little bit, and
well,
give us your background there too.
I was born in Prentice, Wisconsin.
Oh.
And my folks and family moved to Ashland when I was in the 3rd grade. So I basically grew up in Ashland. Graduated from Ashland High School and then went to Northland, graduated from Northland. Well, when I was in high school, I was a good athlete, and I really liked to play volleyball and basketball, and we had none of that when we were in high school, of course. And we had what was called GAA, Girls Athletic Association. We used to have play days and little tournaments and things like that. And we would always, I would always team up with, Marion Larson would always team up with me. And then she'd just sit back and let me play. And we'd win. Anyway, then I went to North when he and I started going together when I was in the 8th grade. And we went together all through high school. And however, high school was not like it is. High school sweethearts are not like it is nowadays. High school sweethearts back then, maybe they saw each other passing in the hallway or met after school or something like that. It isn't like it is now where they're completely consumed with each other. Well, so now he graduated from college and I was still in high school, and my mother says, oh, he'll be off teaching and he'll not want anything to do with you young high school kids. So of course that didn't work out that way either. So then I started college, and it was when I was between my junior and senior year, we had talked about getting married. We were engaged for 3 years before we got married. So actually he went to Florida and he came back from Florida and he said he thought maybe we should get engaged then.
Oh.
So that was 3 years after that we were engaged.
So that would be like about 1958, somewhere? 57?
No, we got married in 58.
Okay.
So we were engaged between my freshman and sophomore years at Northland. That's after he graduated from college.
Okay.
So then we were together all that time, and my mother didn't think it would last. You know how mothers are.
Words of encouragement.
And then between my junior and senior year at college, we had talked about getting married, and I would have had to transfer to Stevens Point. And I had such a good experience at Northland. I loved it. And I was not about to give that up for it, even for him. I needed to finish at Northland. And so that's what we did. And then after I graduated, we got married on Friday before my graduation from Northland.
Really?
So
We
what-
got
what
married
year-
on Friday because then my sorority sisters were able to be at my reception. Then we had
Check, what year was that?
1958,
What's the wedding date?
June 6th.
1950.
And we wanted to get married before everybody left from school.
Yeah.
So we did that. We got married on Friday night, on June 6th.
Friday night.
We had 2 days honeymoon and came back and graduated from Northland on Sunday.
Oh boy.
And then we left for Florida.
Okay.
And then we were in Florida then all summer. And I think it was before we actually left for Florida, we had gone over to St. Croix Falls and interviewed for jobs there. And so we had our jobs set before we left, and we both taught then at St. Croix Falls for
Okay.
1 year.
Um,
And then we had...
That'll be the 56, 57 year?
That would be 58, 59.
58, 59. Okay. So Chick, we're in the year 1958, 59, and both of you guys are happily married and you're employed in the school district of St. Croix Falls. All of a sudden, I know for a fact that you wind up in Bayfield a short time after that. Tell us a little bit about that whole maneuver and what was going on in your
tell 'em
minds.
about that.
Or Don can do that too.
Well, we had a what we considered a ethical standard debate with the school superintendent at St. Croix Falls in the spring of the year when it was time to submit our signed contracts. We were both very, very good teachers. We got along well with students, kids, faculty. It was a wonderful, wonderful place to be. 50 miles from the cities, a lot of young teachers in the St. Croix Falls School District. And at that time, the school board, as many others in the country did, put in a thing for head of family clause where the head of the family got $150, $200 more. That would be if the wife didn't teach or the wife didn't have an occupation or whatever. We went in to see him in the spring with unsigned contracts. We were on the last day. And at the time, we didn't feel that it was ethically sound to do that, to put someone over the other because of whatever.
Okay.
And we opted to have him go to the school board. We would never have known anything about it, and he wouldn't do it. So after an hour of talking, we handed our contracts in unsigned.
Well, I was upset because the contract, the contract for me was less than a contract for somebody else that was doing exactly the same job,
Yeah.
but they were head of the household, even if it was a woman. If she was head of the household and the spouse didn't make $600 or $1,000 a year, then the school district reimbursed them for a head of household clause. And that upset me because I spent a lot of money going to school and paying for my education. So then this person comes out and is able to get more money than me. And that didn't set right with
It
me.
was an equity issue even back in those days.
You bet.
What was your
They don't have that anymore. They don't.
I
They
can
don't do
understand
any
why.
head of the
Yeah.
household anymore.
It didn't last long in the country.
But it was an inopportune time for you guys then. There.
Oh yeah.
You want to tell?
I'm sorry for
You
butting
want,
in.
you want to tell these guys what happened at the very end of that conversation, or you want me to?
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
All right, at the end of the conversation, the superintendent was beat red. He was angry. Principal sat there, never said a word. He was beat angry at us for having done this. We're hard to come by. Mathematics, female teachers, FIED.
What were you teaching then, Chick?
Fayed
Fine, okay.
So anyhow,
and biology.
he said we got up to go and put our hands out to take hands with him, and he says, I'll tell you two this. Okay, what? And he said, I will never hire a married couple to teach again in a school district in which I am superintendent.
Whoa.
And he said, why? We said, well, why not? He said, well, when you lose one, you lose them both. And so someone had to pop up and says, right here, you want to remember one thing though. And he said, and what was that? Chick says, when you hired one of us, you hired both of us.
Interesting.
And so from there on, that was the end of St. Croix Falls, and we came home for the summer and spent the summer at Chick's mother's home.
Okay, in
At the
Ashland.
time Dad had died, passed away before that. And we looked around for jobs in the summer and everything. I was working for one of my uncles painting houses and all this kind of stuff. And Chick was enjoying life and stuff like that. And we ended up, during the summer, I said I thought that I wanted to go back to school. We had saved up some money, had money, and decided that I wanted to do that. And I didn't want to go to Madison because it was so far away from home, Ashland. So I enrolled at University of Minnesota. Got in to see about getting into school there and whatever, and I had a good teaching record, school record, and the whole bit. So we get to around the time for school to start in the fall, and I hadn't been admitted yet. Well, I went through the process and did get admitted and to graduate school, and also got an assistantship for the year that I was there working on my master's in school administration. My tact on the thing was that I wanted to do in school administration a better job than either of the two superintendents I had as my bosses when I was teaching.
Okay, that was a
That
driving
was
force.
my force, yep. So we ended up, and Chick ends up getting a teaching job just north of Anoka in a small suburb called St. Francis. And I commuted to school each day for the 3 quarters. We came home in the spring one time, and smelt fishing was on. And determined at that time we wanted to come home for the weekend, which we did. And here, lo and behold, in the Ashland Press was the retirement of C.T. Larson. I decided, well, I'll be out of here in Minnesota University at main campus in early in the year. And so I applied for the job and ended up getting the job here. That's how we started
And what
here.
was the job?
Superintendent. At that time, it was called. They were called
Superintendent of-
supervising principals or district administrators
Of Bayfield.
at Bayfield. Yes,
And what year was that?
that was in the spring of 1960.
Yeah, I believe it
Yeah, in the
was.
spring of 1960.
Okay.
And I did finish my master's degree, and I had this assistantship also. So I was kind of in the mix with all of these professors with all their doctorates and everything. It was a fantastic experience to do that, and came and ended up then getting the superintendency here at that time, and Chick taught then for that year at St. Francis. When we came home then for the summer, when we left St. Francis, Chick was 8.5 months pregnant. She was spending her summer water skiing on the 8.5 months pregnant water skiing in Chequamegon Bay, which was okay to do. Anyhow, that's how we came to be here.
Let's take a little break from the education end and let's move
He
into.
was the youngest superintendent in the state of Wisconsin at that time.
He was. So how old were you in 1960? Yeah.
26.
26. That's young to be a superintendent.
Yeah.
Usually you gotta, work your
Well,
way up.
most people won't have at that time. Most people won't have master's degree or anything else. It takes them umpteen years to follow through for degrees, because they're working full time or full time plus teaching, coaching, or whatever they do in during the year, so that you're getting an advanced degree goes off 2, 3, 4, 5 years rather than 3 academic quarters in a quarter system.
So Don, tell me a little bit about how that went down. Did you have to come to Bayfield and interview before Ray Cahill and Dr. Moody and that bunch, or did they say you're a good-looking kid? And
Doc
you're
Moody was off of the board at that time. Ray Cahill was on the board. Bob Larson was on the board. Bobby Durham was on the board. I think at that time,
Marion Aiken?
Elsie Peterson, Marion Aiken. They were, I think, the 5 members of the board when I first came here.
Okay.
They used to have their meetings down at the lumber company. You'd sit on the high stools down at the lumber company and had the school board meetings. That's pretty good.
Oh, Chris, if you did that now. At this age.
It was
the
really
books and
neat.
stuff
It
were
was-
down there too.
Yeah, we didn't have the bookkeeping or anything. And when I started up there, then when we got here and we were staying at Chick's mother's home at that time, looking for a place here and whatever to do that, and then we got around the time for school to start, and so I started up there. I walked in the school building one day when I had come over then, because I was supposed to be starting on July 1. And I walked in the building was open, and I kind of find my way around and whatever, and the superintendent's office at that time, it smelled like creosote. And what happened that we found out after was that what was in there was that at that time they used to have all this stuff. You'd go down to the National Guard places and all that for this Army surplus things, whether it was anything, and that's what was in there. It was creosote string. So we got that out of there. Anyhow, the first day I was there, the very first day, the first hour or two, this guy comes in the office. I hadn't seen him in the building. There was no one there. Didn't have custodians in the summer or anything like that. It just, there's the school building and here you are, whatever. So he comes in to the office and introduces himself, and Fred Walksmith and everything, and said, "Nice to meet you," and it had custodian he's got a big pack of keys. He puts the keys like this. And I'm like, what? He says, this is my last day, I'm done. He retired.
Welcome,
I'm
Don.
sitting with the keys. I have to go out of keys in my hand. And I look out on the lawn from where the office used to be, where that courtyard thing used to be, and some white-haired fellow was out mowing the lawn. Ended up that was Ted Shelvin. That was his first day of work.
Oh, okay.
And Ted Shelvin, he had been at the Coast Guard at the lighthouse over in Long Island and retired. So he started, and it wasn't very long after that we had a school board meeting. So we get down to the school board meeting, and Bobby Durham says, Don, she says, where are the invoices? I said, what do you mean the invoices? Well, the bills, you have to pay the bills. Bills come in the summer like they do any other time. I said, I have no idea. Well, didn't you go down to the post office? And I said, no, what do you do at the post office? Well, we don't have delivery. The mail is down at the post office.
Go get it too.
That was, and I'm like, what the hell is this here?
Yeah.
And that's where it was. So the next day, I said, well, I'll take care of that tomorrow. And the next day, I go down to the post office, and of course, Chummy Chapey was the postmaster. He's a tremendously dear friend. All the years that we were here until he passed away and everything. And they go down there, and they didn't have, like, you don't open the mailbox and there's your mail. The mail was in the back in the old post office downtown. And here's the box, here's the sack. And the sack's full. And here's the sack. And the sack's full. And here's the sack, and the sack's full. They're like 3 of these big sacks full. So I take them back up to school, and I start sorting through them and everything. And so then we had another meeting soon after that, and Bobby says, well, where are the bills? Okay, here's the bills. What are we supposed to do with them? I don't know anything about those. So we end up then, and she had the book. She took the books. Millie LaPointe, who was the secretary, if you will, Millie LaPointe was in Grosse Pointe, Michigan with Ernie LaPointe, because that's what she did in the summertime. And I'm up there by myself in the school building. We had either 2 or 3 teachers to hire yet. So I started that process of advertising and doing all that stuff to fill the
And not a
squad
single
out
paper
there.
or anything had
Yeah, it was
been
nothing,
ordered.
nothing,
School
not a
was
single
already
piece of paper had been ordered, not a staple, nothing.
Welcome to Bayfield.
Zero. Yeah, welcome to Bayfield. And what do you do? I didn't know squat. I could tell you how to run a school. I could tell you how to set up the class schedule. And part of what you do is that kind of thing at the time.
But we ordered all that stuff.
And so what did I do? I go home, Ashland, and then Chick came up. She's like this. So Chick came up, okay, like this. So Chick came up to school then, and basically she volunteered, if you will, she was the secretary. She and I did item after item after item for days and days to look over the bill, see what we thought about paying them and everything, and putting them on these vouchers and ordering supplies, because all the teachers' stuff, which I found, was sitting in there. Well, what do you do? I ended up ordering every dang thing they had on there. It wasn't selective. We ordered it because we needed it when school started. Books, textbooks, weekly readers, scholastics. No matter what it is, that's what we had to do.
And we did. Get it by the time
Chick
school
did that.
started.
Yeah. Well, I think the first when that happened, the day that it happened, and that nothing was there and nothing happened and everything, and I think I went back to Ashland at night and I said, let's get the hell out of here. That didn't go over very big. Yeah, that was my comment, let's get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
And I was concerned because it wasn't chaotic because nothing was happening.
Yeah.
Like that. Well, we dug in and we continued to dig in.
Wasn't that about the first part of August that you came?
No,
Was it earlier?
It was somewhat earlier than that. 'Cause
Not
Millie was not scheduled to be in at all.
Yeah, Ernie
until
was
school started.
tugboating then.
Yep. So, but anyhow, when we did, whatever the date was that I initially did start, that's how the sequence started.
Well, in those days, actually, didn't the the clerk and the secretary actually signed the paychecks, you know, and
Yes.
all those things, and all that
Yep,
stuff had
yep.
to be done.
Yes, and they still did that. They were still all hands signed by 2 members of the board. I think it was the treasurer and the clerk.
I have to
did
tell
the
you a little
signing.
story. When we were down at the root beer stand
Thank you.
in Bayfield here, and we knew that his secretary was a Millie, but nothing more. We didn't know anything. So this gal goes through the parking lot down at the A&W, and somebody hollered, "Hey, Millie!" And I looked at him. I said, "Do you suppose that's your secretary?" It was Millie Kovacevic.
Oh, no,
And I thought, oh, wow.
here's another
She
one.
came back.
We got everything going for us now, dear.
And then Dana was born August 25th.
August 25th.
Yes.
So now
So
you're young
here we
parents.
are.
You got your
Yep.
hands full with the school district. Were the teachers? Did you have the teachers in the rooms by the time school started? Then did you get lucky through the interview?
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
Everything
we
went
did.
well.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. So
Yeah.
who were those first teachers? Do you remember that you had in the school?
Well,
under-
one I can't think of. I can't remember offhand who was. It might have been Bob Heck, something like that. And I think he ended up down at Spencer, from Spencer originally. But we ended up doing the hiring and started whomever was the band teacher. His name was Don Stockstead. You probably remember him from
I do remember.
your age because you're really old.
Yeah, I'm getting there.
Anyhow, so we ended up with him, and he was a really nice young fellow, but he didn't really know much about anything, and so he had started early enough. And I remember he was kind of wandering around. He didn't have a car or anything. Even I can't remember how he got here. And someone was talking about him. He had borrowed a fishing pole from someone to go down at Pikes and fish, and he didn't know anything about fishing or anything. So he put a pin on the end of the fish hook to catch the fish like that. That's how it started all with him. And he, I think he lasted just that year. We couldn't keep. It was best for him to go and leave, which he did.
Then you picked up Bert Farragher after that. Then
No.
Gary Holman
Oh,
was,
Gary
was
Holman,
taught
okay.
for a number of years. Gary Holman before he left
and then Bert.
at that time. Yeah.
So yeah, I remember Don Stockstead. He didn't have a real command of the classes. I remember.
No, he had a tough time with kids trying to start building up with the band and
Yeah.
all of that stuff. And I can't.
Probably that time the band was at a lower ed. Wasn't John Hagen there just before him?
John had gone to Washburn.
Did he leave you a pretty good band set up here, or?
No, there wasn't much of anything at
Yeah.
the time. That was down in the basement area. The school was kind of shabby.
Yeah.
But so that's how I started there.
Interesting.
Can I tell you another one?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah,
This
absolutely.
was kind of interesting in a way, because when I was at St. Croix Falls the year that we were there, they would have teachers come in like they do now, and you could take on a teacher coming in they had to do their student teaching. And so I was broached by the principal superintendent to take on a teacher from River Falls to come in. And as a student teacher for, I think it was a 6-week period. They got credit for it and everything out of River Falls at the time. So I took him on, and he did a really, really wonderful job. We didn't have trouble with kids at that time. No one would have trouble with him either, because he was this big. He was this big. That's how big he was, that big.
Oh.
He was also this big, like that. So he came and he got a room for during the week in one of the homes in St. Croix Falls, walked up the hill, walked down the hill after school and everything like that. And it was tremendously interesting, because he did his teaching. I gave him really good grades on it. The kids respected him very highly. He knew everything about mathematics and whatnot, so he helped me out on a couple of the classes that we had overloads, and did that and stayed his end period. We get into the summertime of the following year then, when we had made our plans to do other things, and we happened to see him over in Ashland on a Friday night when stores used to be open and everything. And he said something about, he walked up to him and shook hands with him. Gee, it's good to see you and everything, all that. And so here he had been my student teacher when we were at St. Croix Falls. In the following year, we were in Minnesota, and we had come back. And so he had been teaching in the area here for a year already. And the idiosyncrasy of the whole thing is this guy's name, this big mountain of a man, his name was Verdane Hanson. Hans.
Yeah.
And here he had been teaching there. He had been teaching at Bayfield for a year already.
Yeah.
Like that. And then that's how we met his wife and ended up here. And here he ended up here from his student teaching experience. Really weird.
Funny how all those things fall into
Oh
place.
gosh, it was incredible.
Well, then you met him down in the dark room in Bayfield. When he
That's right. When he
first
went
came
in,
to-
when we first went to Bayfield, he was down in the dark room at school.
Down in the
Summer-
basement,
the
down
summer-
there
yeah, summertime
by the old
after.
furnace. Remember the
Yep,
old furnace
yep,
system?
yep.
Shoveling coal in there in the old days, and a lot of changes happened under you, Don. And I'm gonna get to them in a minute. That whole school did.
Anyhow, that's
Yeah.
how I met Hans after that, during that summer when we had come home and did the whole thing to start here.
So by now you've got your family started, and Dana's born. And give us a little rundown on your kids a little bit. Tell us who they are and what they're doing now. And
Well, Dana was born in August of 1960 when we first came, and we didn't have any place to stay. We were still over in Ashland with my mother, and we had been given the opportunity to rent the Bodine Resort house between here and Washburn. So we went over and looked at it, and of course it was lovely. I really wanted to stay there. It was right on the lake, and so anyway. Well, then the school board apparently got a hold of it, and he talked to the school board, and they would not allow us to live over there. We had to live in the district. So then we were, after I cried a little bit and all that kind of stuff, then we ended up living in this, was called the Higgin House at the time, which is kitty corner from the Rittenhouse Commons right now.
okay.
Val Higgins, I think was the name. Anyway, so we lived there until school was out that first year. And that's when we moved into the Frostman home. Eleanor Frostman, they were,
Okay.
they had burned out at one time. The top of their house burned out, and they redid it and all this kind of stuff. And then they made the apartment in the basement, and they were gone so much of the year. Eleanor and John moved into the basement, and he and I moved into the upstairs. So there we were with Dana, and then in October, Donnie was born.
Okay.
So we had Donald Howard Anderson Jr. And then in January of when Darren was born?
You're supposed to know stuff
63?
like that. 63.
63. Darren was born in January of 63 then. And Denise was born in March of 64. And so we
Skip the year
had,
in between there.
we had
Took a year off.
1, 2, 3, 4. 4 kids. Ages 1, 2, 3, 4. Anyway, we had quite a time. And then we lived upstairs at Frostman's, and then lo and behold, Ed Olson is hired at the Bayfield School. And who should move in the apartment where Frostman's vacated but Ed and Pat Olson with their 6 kids. So we're upstairs with 4 kids. Ed and
Started
Pat are
school right in that
downstairs
building.
with 6 kids.
That's what helped the school population see when we were all there.
And Lynn's lived across the street in
Russell's
Valentine's
place, yeah.
house, and they had 5 kids. Up the block, across the street was the LaPointes, and they had, I think, 5 kids. So we had quite a neighborhood. So then it was getting to be a lot of little kids around. So, and we had been toying with the idea of trying to build a home and finding someplace. So Delphine Leafblad comes up to him at school
She
and
was the
offers us this land out here. And so that's how we ended up building out here. I think we built in 65. So
Got a wonderful
Here
spot,
we are.
nice view of the lake.
yeah.
Yeah. So Don, you're back in your office in those days. The year is 61. 60. Tell us a little bit of you had an association with Carl T. Larson, and I know that he passed, I think, a little bit later that year. Tell us a little bit about some insight. Tell us your impression of Carl T. So much has been said about him by the local, education people. Tell us a little bit about Carl T. and his wonderful wife Gladys.
Well, I had not known him or anything about him at all, except that during the years I was at Northland and whatever, that his name would be mentioned with athletics over here, being superintendent of the school and things like that. But I had never met him, and it was kind of a real idiosyncrasy type thing when we had come home for smelting that one year, and his retirement was announced in the Ashland Press. Also included in that, I think, was the fact that he was going to stay on teaching. A science teacher. That he was going to stay teaching. And I didn't think anything of that one way or the other. That seemed okay to me. Whatever. And it was a real idiosyncrasy, because when we got to ordering all of these supplies and everything, he had put in for supplies for teaching. I think one of the classes he taught was I think like 9th grade mathematics, like general math, like that. And so we ordered everything. They ordered this, we ordered it. They put in a requisition for this, we ordered it. We did the whole schmear, Chick and I, up one side and down the other. And the real idiosyncrasy is we started school in the fall, and the last thing to come were his math books. That was not intentional. We didn't do that by intention.
As fate would have it.
Well, they were harder to come by apparently, because it was a textbook item rather than ordering paper from Wisconsin Typewriter or doing any of these kinds of things that you would do. So he thought he handled kids, I felt, reasonably well. He was more, I think, with kids, considered the hard side of him at that point yet, because he was the kind of I guess I envisioned him as a tough, hard-nosed kind of a principal with kids, and didn't get along
No
or didn't know them
shenanigans here.
that much. Whatever, and but I felt he did a reasonably good job of teaching during that year up in the old science room. And then it was that, I can't remember if that was the spring or the summer then when he passed away, and I had gotten a call, or Bob did, or Hanson, I can't remember which, but the three of us, Bob, Hanson, and I, were the ones, we got called over to his house and were trying to get him resuscitated the whole bit at that time, and he died.
He had a heart
Gladys,
attack.
yeah. Gladys stayed and taught 2nd grade for several years. A wonderful, wonderful woman.
Yeah, she was a sweetheart.
Yep, she was a very, very good teacher. She was very good with kids, very kind to everybody. But that
We
was
also lost Bob Larson before.
Bob Larson
that first year.
passed away the first year I think that we were here,
Yeah,
relative to school board.
he was.
How hard was it to get teachers in those days?
Well, it depends. Well, it's like
You didn't
anything
pay a
else
lot,
in teaching.
right?
Well, the pay wasn't there, but the school had to be comparative with others, except we were always down. Like if Washburn started somebody off at the time, they had more money in the school district than Bayfield did, and more kids to choose from, and you might have a beginning wage, let's say, of $3,500, and Washburn and other schools would have 37 or 38. And that was just the standard that was raised at that time until unionism came in more and more and more, and then you had to compete, which was the thing to do in the first place for teachers. But a lot of teachers in certain areas were harder to come by than they are now, too.
Don, what was the starting pay for a superintendent in those days? I know you've told me that before.
I think the first year that I was here, I think the last year CT was here, he got like 5,800, and I think when I started, I got 6,000.
$6,000 a year.
That's 12 months.
12 months.
Yeah, not 9 months or
bennies,
9 and a
nothing.
half.
Yeah.
That was an interesting fact on that thing. I have to tell you this one, Bob, because sometime this guy will see this thing. You go on that was the wage that I got, and it was a number of years after that. And this one person had graduated one of my first years there and everything, and got to know him and his family very, very, very well after that. And we used to drink beer with each other at weddings in the summertime and all of this stuff. And we were at something that not too long, but he was getting up there and had family of his own and everything. And we end up having a thing at this one time, and I had made some kind of a comment at this wedding in the summertime about having to go to work tomorrow, which was Saturday or Sunday or Monday, whatever. I had to go to work. What? I said, well, yeah. I said, I have to go to work and we have a school board meeting and the annual meeting, all that stuff. He said, well, what do you mean? And I said, well, I don't have a 9.5 month contract like teachers do. What do you mean? And I said, well, I'm on contract for 12 months. I'm lucky to get a week off here and 2 days off here, and then make up for it on weekends because I can never catch up on the work. And he says, well, I didn't know that. And I said, what did you think? He says, well, I thought you had all summer off like the teachers do every year. 100% serious like this. And I'm like, what in the hell are you talking about? Well, I didn't know you did that. And occasionally when I do see him, I don't see him much anymore because of other circumstances and everything. But anyhow, that's what I told him. I said, why do you think that? Well, I didn't. I just thought you just did like teachers do. You had all summer off like that. The name was Bubsy Batan.
Oh, is that right?
You wouldn't know Bubsy Batan, and you wouldn't know Bubsy Batan. Chick knows.
Yeah.
Anyhow, we are tremendously good friends, and I wasn't ragging on him or anything, but he thought that I had the summer off.
Yeah.
That's what a lot of people would assume that.
And I think some may still.
They probably still do.
It's
Bob, another thing going back to the teachers, when he was superintendent and after the first few years, there was very little turnover as far as teachers go in the Bayfield School District. There were in a lot of other school districts surrounding us, but the Bayfield School District, we had very, very little turnover. And the turnover that we had was usually ones that had to end up going back to school or doing something. They never left because they were unhappy. We had such a good school district.
Yeah, and they hung
really did.
for many, many years too. Life employees and really good. I mean, from Hans to Bob Lind to Marion Larson to Ed Olson to there's just a whole cadre.
You bet.
And I know I'm always going to forget somebody here, but they hung tight.
Yeah.
And then they raised their families here in the community, and that's a nice sign too when the teachers have a lot of faith in their school system. You see, in this new day and age, some of the teachers are opting out to go to different schools with their children for whatever
Exactly.
reason. But there was loyalty in those days, and it was extended both ways. Fun period in time was the 60s, 1960. You're young here. You had some wonderful basketball teams, great coaches. Tell us a little bit about those. Remember the teams of Van Vanner and Bobby Dahl, and I can remember going all over the place with old Russ Valentine to catch those kids play ball. Wasn't that a lot of fun, Don? And
Well, yeah, those were when you talk about the good old days. They were good old days. They weren't just good; they were good old days. In that, with the basketball teams at that time, and you look at the gymnasiums that were built after that, and one kept getting bigger than the next and bigger than the next, and Bayfield had the small enrollments, as did some of them. At that time, cable was in the Indian Head Conference, and Raleigh Benson was the coach. He was dynamite
I played down
Like
there
that.
one year.
in the old cable gym.
Yep.
Yep.
Actually
Cable
did.
Polar Bears, I think they were called.
Yeah.
I believe anyhow. And Saxon was in the Indian Head Conference at that time. And one of the places you would go to play games would be an Iron Belt. Go there and play games, stuff like that. And then the gym started growing and getting bigger and whatever. But the competition with Butch Vandeventer and Steve Valentine at that time, Bobby Durham. No, not John Durham.
John
Durham playing ball, whatnot. And Bubsy Batan.
Yeah.
I tell a story about Bubsy all the time. We tell this all the time at hunting and that. And Bubsy was a game against South Shore Washburn or somebody, and he went. And he was kind of flying out of bounds up toward where the stage is out there, and he said he could hear someone yelling at him, "Shoot, Bubsy, shoot! Shoot, Bubsy, shoot!" And he fired the ball up, and he was behind the rim, and the ball went in and won the game. That's a famous story.
Yeah.
But they did have the teams. They also had baseball here. Of course, this was all boy sports at that time till the 70s when girl sports came in with WIA and everything. And the first exposure I had to baseball here was in the spring of the year before I was starting here and everything, and out at Hodgkins Park.
Yeah.
They were playing up there, and this other, I can't think who they were playing, but this other team had very, very fancy uniforms on, and the spikes that go with it, and the entire thing there. And there's Bayfield out there, and that's the first time I ever met Bob Lind. Bob Lind was coaching baseball. He was young, really young. Looked like he should have been a player or a manager or something like that of the team. And so I came up to the game there to see what was going on, and of course I think Hanson might have been there. John Ingstrom
Johnny
was there at that time, and I grew up with John in Ashland.
Okay.
We'd known each other since we were kids. Like that, John Ingstrom was at the game and whatever, and here this guy is out pitching, and he's throwing the ball in like a bullet out there at this game, and he was dressed like we would be dressed right now here. Blue jeans on and probably a pair of tenors on, something like that, and he's throwing dart balls in like that. And here's Bayfield. I said, "Are you telling me they don't even have uniforms?" And they didn't.
Yeah.
They did not have uniforms. They'd have a baseball team for I don't know how long. And the pitcher's name was Billy Joe Basney.
Oh, Billy Joe.
Billy Joe
Yeah.
was pitching. Had a lot of the same players that played basketball for Bayfield at that time, and that was the last year that they did not have uniforms.
You make sure that
I
they
wasn't
look
about to be any part of stuff like that.
Yeah.
You have all these other teams have this stuff, and
They look like
Bayfield,
ragamuffins out there.
Bayfield didn't.
Yeah.
It didn't make sense, but that's how that story went.
Well, isn't that
thing.
something though? But I mean, the school board, you think in those days would have taken some pride in it and pushed it a little bit too. Was it always an issue of money in those days, or?
Well, I think a lot of stuff like that, I have always felt comes down from the top. And you have a school administrator who's interested in kids, who's interested in community, who is interested in what goes on around, and what goes around comes around, type thing. And that these kids are as deserving as the next school down the road,
Sure.
and the next one up the road, like that. And you didn't have some of that stuff there. It was kind of like you were the poor nursemaid
Yeah.
coming in during
From
that
the
time.
north up there.
Yeah, I would never buy that.
Chick, you got your kids growing in the family, and all of a sudden they're probably at an age where you got a little free time, and then is that when you decide to go back into teaching at the public school level, or fill us in
Absolutely
a little
not.
bit?
That's not how it happened at all.
Okay, fill us in.
Well, Denise was just a baby, and they were over in Washburn. Superintendents get together and yak and all that kind of stuff. So this superintendent over in Washburn needed a Phi Ed teacher. He could get there was a Phi Ed commercial opening, and he could get a commercial teacher.
What does
But
that
he
mean?
couldn't get a Phi Ed teacher.
Oh, you mean a typing?
Yes.
Okay, commercial class. Okay.
And so, of course, he talked to this one, and this one talked to this one, and that's how it ended up. I
Okay.
started teaching part-time at Washburn then.
In
Fayette.
64. 64.
That would have been, I don't know if it was 64 or 65, one or the other.
Somewhere's in there.
Yeah, anyway. And so I was just part-time there.
Okay.
And then when they needed a female Phi Ed teacher up here, then I started teaching part-time up here. So I was part-time in Washburn, part-time up here.
So
And my biggest fear was I'd forget and go to the wrong school. But anyway, that's all.
well, women's sports were started to come into their own. I believe it was in 1971 with the issuance of Title IX
Great.
at the federal level. And then Don, you were at the head of the school, and I imagine you got a lot of pressure to make sure that young ladies had equal opportunity to sports in that period of time. Is that when you came here then, Chick, or?
Well, yeah, we did a little bit before that. I would have volleyball over here, and then we would have volleyball in Washburn, and then we'd get together and play against each other and things like that. And then when the state stepped in and set up the state tournaments, then we had to decide if we were going to join in the state tournament series or
Yeah.
if we wanted to stay in our own local stuff.
So you had a
And-
choice between WIAA or kind of like your own.
Yeah, except that at that time we were playing slow pitch softball, and we played softball at the beginning of the school year, and
in
then
fall.
volleyball was right immediately after basketball season. So when the state said that they were going to have the tournament series and we were going to do this and stuff, so then we had to decide whether we wanted to stick with the slow pitch softball or go fast pitch and get into this tournament series. Well,
Okay.
that was a no-brainer. Of course, that's what we had to do. So we switched from slow pitch to fast pitch. And of course, we were way down. We didn't do very well at first at all.
Well, you're building a
But
program.
then that's correct. And then I didn't, after we started the tournament series, then I didn't teach at Washburn anymore at all. They were able to get another full-time Phi Ed teacher. So, and her name was Diane Harding. And she took over for me in Washburn. And so then I was here all the time, although I was only part-time. And so we had softball and we had volleyball, and then girls basketball also. And did Casper start? No, Dick O'Leary started with girls basketball. He
Okay.
coached that, and
You were volleyball and softball.
exactly, and cheerleading
Okay.
and track.
And teaching.
Then I had to help with after Larry Casper took over the girls' basketball. He was very uncomfortable being alone with the girls. And so it was prudent for a female to be with them at all times, and on the road especially. And so that's when I started doing all the basketball stuff too. I was not a coach. I did not have to go to practices. I had to go on to all the games.
Bus runs and stuff.
Yep. And so I was kind of going every season of the year, full time.
But I know you had many accomplishments, and they aren't always summarized in winning and stuff, but I know that you had some pretty successful years. Tell us a little bit about those wonderful softball teams and the volleyball teams and those fun years.
Well, I do remember the volleyball, of course. I love volleyball, and the thing that was so different with volleyball with me is I had to learn an awful lot as we were going along because, as I said, we didn't do that in high school at all. When I was in high school, when you served the ball, you got to serve it twice to get it over the net. And then when it came back, you could set it up to yourself and hit it over so you could hit it twice. It was real different. Anyway, so when we started volleyball, it was a learning experience for both the girls and myself, and we did very well. We were it seemed like when Drummond and Bayfield were kind of head and head all the time. If we played Drummond in Bayfield, we would win the conference. If we played Drummond in Drummond would win the conference because of the gym facility.
Okay.
Anyway, so we had good years, and the year that we won the state tournament, well, we went to the state tournament before that though, and I can't even remember what years those were. 70. We won in 77, 78. And it was a couple years before that we did go to the state tournaments, and Kim Walksmith played, Lisa Anderson played.
You had some pretty good athletes in your
Very
to
good
showcase.
athletes. Very good athletes. And then the year that we won, Dana was a senior. And Kathy Olson was a senior, and Susie Carrier was a senior, and we were at a...
You have the Bonnie girls too? Was that later? Even later.
Yeah, I can't remember if...
Beth?
I don't think she was on that team, though, was she?
No.
I'd have to look it up. I can't. Anyway, we were at the sectionals, and we were behind 14-4. The game went to 5. The game went to 15, and we were behind 14-4. And
Thought this is it.
it was at we were in a small gym, as I recall. Anyway, I got a little bit on my high horse. Do you want to win this game? Do you want to win this game? Anyway, we pulled it out. We won that game, 16-14. And we went to the state tournament.
That's a heck of a lot of
You bet.
points to score though to come
You
back
bet.
from. Usually that's almost inescapable.
Yeah. Anyway, and then we got down to the state tournament, and of course you walk into it was in Wausau at the university. I can't remember what
At
it's
Stevens
called.
Point or Wausau?
No, I think it was
the tournaments were in
Point?
Oshkosh at
Oshkosh,
the
okay.
University Fieldhouse.
Well, whatever it was. Anyway,
Yeah.
you walk in there, and us in the North Country here never get to a big place to play volleyball ever, into a big gymnasium. You walk in there, and there's 8 courts going. There's volleyballs going up all over, and it's like popcorn just going up all over.
Flying.
And so many of these kids were just like, my God, what are we going to do here? It was awesome for many of them.
What a great learning experience.
Very awesome.
They'll never forget that their whole life.
Yeah, we were at one of the softball state tournaments. We had a girl that hadn't been anywhere. She'd been to Ashland, I think, and that was about as far away as she'd ever gone. We were in down in below Madison,
Softball, Waukesha.
Waukesha, and this girl, or we were out eating, and for breakfast, and the waitress comes up to her, and as everybody else, and asked what kind of eggs she wanted. How did she want her eggs? She looked up at the waitress and she said, fried, cooked,
Cooked.
cooked. How do you want your eggs? Cooked.
And just
it was
deadpan
so
serious.
funny. Anyway, there was just so many instances like that for a lot of these kids in Bayfield that hadn't ever been anywhere. It was more than just an experience going to a state tournament. It was a life experience for
Yeah,
them.
really interesting.
Really was.
I think that's still kind of, well, maybe not so much today because seems like kids are all over the place, but but to some degree, this day and age, that is true also. Don, you've hired your new crews, and the years you have some wonderfully talented kids that you meet in your life. Class of '68, specifically speaking, of which I was in, things like that. But I know that in one of the interesting things you mentioned, Ed Olson coming into the fold here. And I know that you also had challenges, because I've read the minutes of the school board back in the '60s there, where they basically said to the school board up here, you need to do some things, or you should consider consolidating. And one of the things that you brought on under your tenureship there was the introduction of the industrial arts program to the school district. That had been there in the 1880s and 90s and 20s and 30s, and all of a sudden the school board cut it out. Tell us a little bit about how you pulled all that together. That was a big deal.
At the time when you're going back into the 30s, 40s, 50s, whatever, some of those years in that was when at that time the old courthouse building was still being used, and Van Ashman, I can remember seeing pictures of him. Van Ashman was the manual arts, if you will, manual arts teacher down there. He was my class advisor in Ashland High School, my 4 years of high school.
So you know pretty well.
So, very, very well. Yeah. So anyhow, he ran those things, and then when we came up with some of these programs and stuff, we had someone came in, and I think they taught some basic drafting class like that, and that was the extent of it. And all of these other schools around were having manual arts, manual training, industrial ed, whatever you want to call it, and that point in time, and you start looking at the school district here, and they were not in debt. The gymnasium had been built 1954, 55, something like that, and some of these others, and the state would be coming and breathing down Bayfield's neck, and it was, I can remember back in the early 60s to mid 60s at that time, and it was being proposed that there be a Chequamegon area school district. Not like the Chequamegon they have now, which is Park Falls and Glidden, is Chequamegon School District in one. But at that time they were coming on and pushing consolidation like that. And you stop and think of kids from here or up north from here having to be taken by bus to Ashland or somewhere like that. And
13 miles farther north than the town of Russell.
Yeah. And at that time, they were promoting all of that, and we didn't have anything going at all. I can vividly remember Edith Gorman was on the school board. She's a school board clerk. She's a tremendously hardworking woman and everything. And her thing at that time was to the effect, well, if they do this, or if this happens and there's this one school district, or it's broken up into two school districts, that I would be out the door. And well, that's the way it goes. Well, Don, you're the youngest. You have all of these other superintendents along the way who have been in the business longer than you, and you're young, and all this stuff. And so we started from scratch, actually looking at that situation relative to doing that, and put out the money at the time, which was, I think it was the shop building where it is now, was something like $260-some thousand, I think, which at that time was a big amount of money like that. So we had that passed and started building the thing, and we get into the winter, and the winter is getting colder, and the building's going up and everything, and Peterson Plumbing and Heating goes punk like that, out of business, gone. So we're sitting here. Then Neil Schultz helped out immensely. Neil Schultz came to the forefront, said he would finish this, and we had all of the accounting monies and everything figured out and everything, and Neil and his crew came and virtually finished the place during the winter. We didn't have a teacher, didn't have a program or anything. That's when Ed Olson came on board from down in somewhere in Michigan where he was teaching, and came up and started that the program up here to have that. So that
Did
was
he come from Alaska?
Yes, Ed
Yeah,
had been in
he came
Hanson,
from
Alaska,
Okay.
teaching.
Well, I remember
And,
that. I think the
it
year
came
is
in.
62.
Yeah.
And you remember where the old lunchroom used to be down there?
Vividly.
And that's where we had our first classes, and I'm in 7th grade and 8th grade. And then by 1963, 64, we had this wonderful shop.
Yep, that's
up
when
there.
the shop was either, I think it was started like in the fall, winter of 63 and finished in 64.
Yeah.
Or 62, 63, I'm not sure which.
I can still see every tool that was in that building, and Ed did a marvelous job of teaching that. He taught a lot of kids good, hard skills that, not everybody is going to go to college, but everybody needs to go on to the world of work. And there was a lot of kids that whole shop program kept them, interested in
question.
school,
Yeah,
that
no
and sports. So that was a big project that you undertook. And then you finish that up a little bit and blah, blah, blah. You go through a few good years with some really good year classes. And about 68, I remember, I think that was a period in time where I think you were in the process of considering building a new middle school thing. I remember Tomlinson doing that for you. Can you tell us a little bit? I think it was 69 or something.
Well, we had one. It was I think it was one was in 68, another one in 73, where we put on the additions where the cafeteria is now, that area, and then the classrooms up above that, and also then the addition that goes toward the ravine and down. That was a story there with that thing also at that time. And those and all of those were basically, there's a lot of legwork done on it, a lot of financial planning done on it, and trying to get the state to come in and help what they could and whatnot. But at that time we didn't have the wherewithal of wealth in the school district.
Yeah.
And at that time also things like Public Law 874, Indian Impact Aid, was insignificant as far as that goes, and we're able to swing the vote and whatnot of people on those different referendums to pass that. And it was with great diligence.
It was interesting. In
With
those
school
days,
boards.
land values were worth nothing, and now
That is correct.
now they're worth 1,000 times probably more than what they're really worth.
Yeah.
But in those days, if you don't have that base to tax to, you really got to do some sweating. You finish up those particular projects. I remember Greg Merkel counting the number of dump truck loads of sand and stuff that filled in the old Sabota house down there. And tell us a little bit about that ballpark that came together under your direction.
Well, the ballpark thing, I try to think of the federal thing that was called. I can't think of the name of it. You should know that because you worked in that.
Well, the Conservation Corps?
No, not well. The Conservation Corps
That was later.
Was kids working and whatnot, but the money for the ballpark came for and the tennis courts also came from requesting federal aid through state, which was federal monies, not state monies, with the ballpark up above and the bleachers and the whole bit. And you were involved in that.
Yeah, that was a little later.
That's why you're asked that question, because you were involved in that.
No, not really.
Extensively.
No, it was because I remember Greg Merkel standing there counting the dump truck loads of sand. You had him counting them. Remember that where the old Sabota house used to be?
Yes.
Where all the kids used to go across the street and smoke cigarettes over there in those days. So.
And the Sabota, the interesting thing about the Sabota house across the street there, when the school district wanted to get that money and that thing was empty, it was like the haunted mansion, like that. And so on that thing, then the school district had purchased the land and no one wanted to do anything. And this great big giant of a guy that I had said before comes and he bought it, or he put in a bid on it. I don't know if we had to pay him a few dollars or whatever, but to tear that thing down. He tore that thing down by himself. Hanson tore that building down by himself. You'd go there at night during this whole time in the winter and all that, you'd see lights on and people would wonder who was in there. And there Hans was tearing that building down, which he did.
Yeah. Well, he's a
And
big,
that's-
powerful kid.
Yeah, and that's part of what he used to build his house and the whole dang bit. And you're right, when Greg Merkel we hired him in the summer, and I think Bob Shovik had the job for hauling the
Excavation.
sand, and
Yeah.
you had to be there, and they measured that and truckload after truckload after truckload to put that whole parking area in after there, and then get it sloped so it wouldn't get washed away.
Sure.
So those were very, very important things because there wasn't anywhere to park up at school
Now,
across the road.
when was that? What was the year that?
That's a
project?
really good question. I would say probably in the boy, I don't know when Hans built that house and everything. I would say in the late '60s, early '70s.
Yeah, it was
At
right in
that
that
time,
period. I
yeah.
was just out of high school.
Yep.
And I remember Greg was just out. He graduated in '66, and I'm in '68, and I want to say 1970.
Yeah,
Looks
I
like it
would
was
say
2
in that time period. I don't.
Yeah.
If you asked Hans, he would know the exact days and times and whatever that he put in a thing to tear it down and take all the debris and get rid of it all, whatever, at that time, and did that. So.
So right now, under your belt, you've got 2 new wings, Industrial Arts Building, the east wing over there. You got a ballpark under your belt, and then in about 1980, what year was it? We get into this swimming pool arrangement and stuff like that. Can you fill us in a little bit, Don, on how that all came together under your leadership there?
The swimming pool thing and the idea behind it came, I think, in it was the 86, 87 at that point in time, and we had the backing of Mary Rice and her mom and stepdad, I guess, Bill, his stepdad, to do that and to put money into it, the whole thing, and purchase the property, which was formerly owned by your family, your dad, to tear that house down and put something there. And we started floating ideas out on it, and we came everything from, I think, an Olympic track to an Olympic indoor track to weight machines and everything, another
Exercise
gymnasium, you name it, and everything was coming out on all that to have whatever in it. Ideas here and ideas there, and open meetings on all of that stuff as to what was coming down with that whole thing until it finally got finalized to try to build a pool in there and have a hot tub connected with it and this and that. And we came back to the family once or twice, because when the board hired an architectural firm out of 4, 5, 6, 7 who had put in and opted for it like that, then the cost started coming in. We should do this and do that, and a real amazing thing, because it was a tremendous amount of pressure. People wanted this, they wanted that. Why do this? Why do that? Why do it at all? And here the money was being donated by Mary Rice, their family, the Hewling family, like that. It was tough. It was really a difficult thing to
A hard sell.
keep trying to do that in the time that it took. And you're doing other things full time besides. They come in with that whole thing, and of all of the things I can remember with that, we would ask for, we might need some money. It would be nice to have this. It would be nice to have that in the thing. And we were sitting up there before the construction and all this was going to start. And in the summer, and I'm up there, the phone rings. And I can't remember if it was Bill Hewings or Mary Rice's mother. Her name was Mary.
Betty, they called her.
Betty.
Yeah, right.
So anyhow, I get a phone call, and they said we would like to come up and talk to you. And I think Millie was working there at that time, I'm not sure. And I
What
thought,
point?
this is the end of it. That's what I thought. I had that in my head right now. That's the end of it. They're backing out because there's too much clamor going around here and there and everywhere about the whole thing, and maintenance fees after it's built, and insurance, all of this kind of stuff. And this is the end of it. So they came in the office and sat down, And the first thing that I heard from them was they were concerned about the pressure on me. That was what it was. They were concerned about what was coming down on me because of pursuing this and working hard at it and everything, and that there was so much talk out in the community and all this that would we want to pull out, would I want to pull out? And I was, well, whoosh. No. This was not what we were all about with this whole thing. And when we left, they had rededicated their commitment, the whole thing. And it was either 2 or 3 different times over that period then when we came up with something else. I could think the hot tub was one of them that do it. Oh, another one, originally it was designed so that the pool would be the concrete. And instead then we got an estimate on the tile of the whole thing there and got that. They approved that. They approved that. They approved that.
And a
Oh,
few
But
little
even
add-on.
before that, the electorate had to vote on this, and that was awful because it was such a
right.
controversy,
Yep.
and wherever the final vote was, I know it passed. And we all went down to Maggie's along with Mary Ray's, and we just sat and cried. All of us, we just sat and cried because it
Took
passed.
that much out of you.
Yep.
Another interesting part about that, that referendum was held at school. Had a room set aside. We had election canvassers there. We did everything legally by the book that we needed to do, so it wouldn't come and bounce back on us. And they had a ball game that night, a big major ball game. So who can't go to the game because he has to be sitting up in his office like that. They had this big game down there, and I can't remember if the school board had met that day or that night or whatever it was, but anyhow then someone had come up because whomever was supposed to be doing the election ballots and everything came up and had walked in, or else it was announced down in the gym after it had gone down to that part, and it was either 2 to 1 or 3 to 1 the vote. It was a big turnout.
Oh.
It was either 2 to 1 or 3 to 1 that
So the
that
community
thing
was
passed.
really behind the idea.
Yeah.
Just
Oh,
a
yes.
few naysayers made it nasty.
And that's what it was. And it's like Chick said, we went down, we invited down to Maggie's, and I'm not talking about tear bagging, I'm talking about people crying down there. It was like this.
Including
It was-
Mary, she was just
Yeah,
so
yeah.
happy that it passed. She just cried like a baby right along with all of them.
Well, when you got a slam dunk on it,
We had,
you
a,
know.
we had a good crying tool
Yeah.
that day.
Yeah.
So that was
was
something
wonderful.
else. But that
Yeah.
was
Been a big asset to the
Took a
community.
Took a lot of work
Yeah,
after
yeah.
that, though. Also, the getting lifeguards and the scheduling of lifeguards and the educating of the lifeguards and
Well, that added a new dimension to the curriculums offered there too at the school, which made this district, recognized as one of the more up and coming school districts too. Anytime you can add something like that, especially in the days of open enrollment and things,
yeah.
anything
yeah.
you've got that's better, that adds to the curriculum, people are wanting to buy into it.
well, we
So
took
what-
the
what
kids
year was
down from my FIAD class. I took them down swimming. I got my instructor's license and all that anyway. And so I would take my FIAD classes down. I got a bus driver's license because I had to bus them down. And so we'd go down and swim and do our thing and shower and get back on the bus, and I'd take them back up to school again. So it worked out well. It worked out well.
So what year did it open? Do you remember?
87.
Uh-huh.
I believe it was 87.
Yeah.
I think it was, So,
And the first New Year's Eve that we were in that swimming pool, we had the pool open, and we went down. We couldn't get anybody to lifeguard, of course. It was New Year's Eve. So guess who lifeguarded New Year's Eve?
And who went swimming?
That That was the first year. So it was fun.
Then the challenge came, I think, Don, it's 87 and about 1990, I think, you say, I don't know what you thinking to yourself, but you decided to retire from the Bayfield schools. Is that 90?
July 1, 1990.
Yeah, so
Yep.
you
I've been retired a long time already.
yeah. So 1990, you hand your resignation. Tell us a little bit about your feelings at that point in time, and then maybe what you did afterwards, and then we'll get into how they recalled you back again twice.
Well, in thinking about it with all of the things that had been done over the years, I didn't have any feelings of regret or that I had done anything wrong. I didn't feel in any way I was burned out or burned up. Burned out by myself or burned up by others like that. I didn't have any thoughts on that. I just thought that I felt that I needed some time off and all the things that go with that, like that. And I figured that we didn't really have an urgent need to keep working or money or anything.
How
akin
come you
to
made
any
me
of
work
that.
5 years after you retired?
Because
then?
you were younger than I was.
No.
And you still are. So, but anyhow, that was the feeling that I had at that time, and I had been at that for 30 years here, and this is not an easy school district. It never was from the get-go. It never was. Like that was never an easy school district, and I still would use that analogy with the whole thing. Every day I was there, I gave the best I had, and that's what I do. And also, in addition to that, I felt every day was a good day. Some days weren't as good as others, but they're all good days. And I never regretted being there. I never regretted the work I put in, the time I put in. And we originally had talked about, informally, Chick and I, that when we first came to Bayfield in 1960, that we probably would stay there 2 years. And the goal wasn't to go to a bigger school, a better school, a bigger community, or anything like that. It was just that we had kind of thought we would stay there probably 2 years. And that was in 1960. And where do we live? We still live here.
2010, you're still
There
here.
you spent 30 years.
Yep. 30 years. Well, see, I would not have wanted, when we think back on it, I would not have wanted my kids to have gone anywhere else. I thought this was a tremendous, tremendous experience for them and for what we worked for.
Freedom Pratt and I don't know who else was it. The McCutcheons.
McCutcheons.
Anyway, and so there would be.
LaPointe. What was her name?
Lisa.
Lisa LaPointe. Yeah, Lisa LaPointe. LaPointe's.
And there would be times when he would be in the car with one of those girls. And you wouldn't do that nowadays.
I wouldn't do it
You
myself.
got that right. You got that right.
But we always,
Gretchen Morgan.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Gretchen Morgan.
We
won
always felt
100,000
it was, he always felt by taking these kids like that and going that way, and I would go out to Red Cliff with the bus, that it was getting the kids home at a decent hour. Otherwise, by the time I went to Red Cliff and all the way around to McCutcheon's and all the way down, it would have been so late at night.
Yeah, you got a 2-hour tour there after a 2-hour tour home.
More.
You'd be driving out in the boonies there just in time to pick them up to bring them back to school the next morning.
And
They're all played out in school.
oftentimes, you're not running this, are you?
Yes, we are. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, this is good.
No, I can't say that.
You were driving. You drove the bus as well after school.
Yeah, not after school.
Ball games.
I drove them after ball games.
After ball games,
and
I see.
2 ball games.
I see.
And the reason I started that was because, the softball situation, the ball field situation up on the hill was awful because the boys and the girls both practiced on the same field. And so oftentimes I would take the girls' softball team and go out to Red Cliff and play in that spot in front of the church there. That isn't there anymore. And then after that, we used to come out here, and Hilding let us come over on the field over here and hit balls and
Take batting practice
and
there.
get a few things started before we could get on the field. So that's how come I started driving school bus, so I could just get in the bus and take the kids and go. Otherwise, to get a janitor or to get a bus driver to drive was too much of a monkey business thing.
Yeah.
So that's where we started.
You have some pretty good softball teams. I know that your daughter was really an excellent athlete. Tell us a little bit about the softball teams of yesterday.
You know that class that Denise was a member of, that was, there were so many good athletes in that class. There were really 8 of those kids that were seniors that year, and juniors at the time too. And the kids that were not able to play on the varsity, they were much better than kids in any of these schools around.
Yeah.
But they had to play on the junior varsity. Well, this was more or less in basketball and volleyball, and of course in softball. We just had so many really good athletes. Anyway, in the Denise's junior of the year, that would have been in '83. I think she graduated in '84.
Deanie graduated in '82.
Oh gosh.
That's okay, chick.
Okay, in '82. This would have been '81 and
junior in
'82.
80,
That's
yeah.
right, '81 and '82.
Okay.
Okay. We won the state tournament in '81, and then in '82 we won again to have back-to-back state tournaments, and that was a real coup for us.
Rarity.
Was it the state tournament where Deanie hit that girl? Tell them about that, when she hit that girl in the back.
Well, one of the, I can't remember which year it was, the first year or the second. Well, first of all, they went to, when Deanie and those other kids were in high school, they went to state 4 years in a row. 79, 80, 81, 82. Those 4 years in a row, that group went, and then the other time they went was in, after they were graduated, then it was in '85. That's 5 of them. But anyhow, this one year they were playing, and Deanie had come in to pitch. I think I can't remember if it was Betsy Hauser had been pitching, I think, and got all nervous up. Anyhow, Deanie came in to pitch. She used to play shortstop, left-handed, but still played shortstop. Came in to pitch, and I did the scorebook all the time. Came in to pitch. This is the state championship, I think, game. And we had taken a lead. Then the other team took a lead. We came off, and they had 2 scores, something like that, where we had gone ahead. And this girl gets up and she drills one way out in the field from the other team. Drills one way out in the field, and they're circling the bases, and somehow then we had gone ahead at that point in time, and this one girl had hit the ball, and Deanie fielded the ball, and these runs came around and scored. They had essentially won by 1 run. But what had happened was Deanie fielded the ball, and she pivoted, came around, and she threw the ball just as hard as she could. The girl was barrel-assing down toward first base, and Deanie hit her right in the back with the ball, with the softball. Hit her right smack in the back. The other runs crossed. The other team had won.
We thought.
And everyone's like this immediately. The home plate umpire came out immediately, and he went and called this girl going toward first base out. And that would have been the 3rd out, like that. And what had happened was the girl had, instead of running in that marker area where you can legally run, she came on the inside and was on the infield.
On the baseline.
She was on the
Exactly.
baseline, in the baseline. And Deanie hit her right in the back. Smack dab in the middle of the back, and the game was over. that was it. And I had the book, and I threw the book up as high as I could. I don't think it landed even. I can't
Yeah, it's
remember.
still
whatever
up there,
landed.
maybe, eh?
But anyhow, that was the end of the game, and she aimed at that. She did that.
She had the smarts to do that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Now
That was
that's-
incredible.
Not only do you have
Incredible.
good athletes, you have intelligent athletes, and
Yeah.
that makes a difference when
Yeah.
you're coaching them too, doesn't it?
All
that
8
was
of those
absolutely incredible.
kids that were in that class, they were all honor students.
Yeah.
Karen Galazin,
Yeah,
Many-
who were some of the others?
Karen Galazin, Sherry Nelson,
Judy Hauser in that too.
Jody.
she was too old. She was older.
Okay.
Lori G.
Okay.
Lori G.
Hauser,
Betsy.
you know,
Lois.
No, Lois was older.
no, the other Hauser family.
I can't remember.
Jim Hauser's daughter, Jim and Marilyn's kid.
Lori.
Supposed to remember that stuff,
No.
chick.
I can't. Well, I'll think of it afterwards.
Yeah, that's about the way it always
We'll
goes.
put an addendum on.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Karen caught for you, didn't she?
Yeah, Karen got it.
And
Well, in that game, because Denise was pitching, she ran down. The ball just kind of dribbled in front of Karen, and Deanie went down and grabbed the ball and pivoted and
Plucked her.
smashed that girl in the back. One other game. This would have been the year earlier. Lois Hauser was pitching, and she just had an awful time, and she couldn't get the ball in, and we were behind 9-2 or something like that, and she was out there crying, and I wouldn't take her out. I had to leave her in because I couldn't put another pitcher in because of the pitching rule.
yeah, innings.
So I had to leave her in until I was able to change to another pitcher. And we finally got to the point where I put Denise in then. And Denise liked to play shortstop. She was a fabulous shortstop. But she also had to pitch because we didn't have anybody else. And she was left-handed. So it was, yeah, that really helped. Anyway, then finally I was able to take Lois out of there, and we won the game. And Lois talks about this yet to this day, how I made her stay out there. She cried and cried, and I made her stay out there.
You were crying too, tell her
Yeah.
you couldn't help it.
Well, we had to do it that way. We had to do it my way.
When did you finally give up coaching, chick?
When I retired, 95, I coached volleyball that year, and then that was I quit then after that. So,
Have you seen a change in the personalities of the kids, the willingness to be good athletes, through that roughly 25, 30-year span too?
oh yeah, I never had trouble with the kids or the parents. I don't know if it was because they knew they had to do it my way. I don't know, but
Might have something to
I
do with it.
really never did have trouble. I'd get mad at them, of course, and kick butt a lot of times, but I cannot recall of having a parent come to me and crab about not playing their kid or doing this or doing that. I've had kids come and say, I should be able to play, I should be doing this, I should be taking somebody else's place. They aren't as good as I am, and I've gone through that with a few kids, but not very many. So I think it was a respect from both the kids and their parents, and I'm sure most of the parents knew that we were doing the best we could with what we had, and that we were doing it right, and it showed.
Education first, athletics, and on the
You
other.
bet.
So, Chick, you must have been a good athlete when you were young.
Well,
What did you play when you were young?
we didn't have anything
Yeah,
when we were
girls couldn't.
we were young. we had play days and stuff like that. That's all. And even in college, we didn't have anything. There was no girls basketball or volleyball or anything like that when I was in college even. So
So
I took all those classes.
Yeah,
and-
how'd you learn how to do all that stuff then?
because I was a Phi Ed major.
Ah,
Well, you also, it looks like you had a whole house full of brothers and stuff too, and
Exactly. Exactly.
played
Yeah.
some sports with them, I would guess.
And I had a boyfriend that I had to go to all the games all the time also.
Was he a good athlete in his day, or
Yes, he was.
tell us a little bit
And
about
all
that
those
athlete that
college
you remember?
games that we went to. Oh yeah, he played football and basketball in college too. So
So you were Don. I remember you talking a little bit about Northland and stuff, but I recall you didn't play much sports in high school, and all of a sudden you went to Northland
Well,
and dominated.
I went out for basketball all 4 years I was in high school,
Okay.
and I was smaller at that time, and I got cut from basketball all 4 years I was in high school. And one of the reasons for that I had always felt was that the coach or coaches wanted multiple players, ones who would play football and basketball or whatever. So I played city team basketball during the years I was in high school.
Okay.
Because I got cut. I went out every year. I was better than a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
Got cut every year, and then when I was ball, went out for the team and made the varsity at Northland, and by mid-year I was playing a lot, and started then 3.5 years. It started.
Did you play with Pavasser and those kids at all? Or?
No, he's younger than I am.
He was younger than you.
Yeah,
Okay.
the thing that he and I had in common, we're both left-handed. Jack Pavasser.
Jack, yeah.
He was fantastic. But anyhow, and then the last 2 years I was there, the football team was building up and everything. Well, come on, let's do this and do that and whatever. And I decided, well, it was really difficult for me and some of this stuff because my mother had died when I was a sophomore in college. So I decided, well, I needed to do some other things too, and went out for football and played football at Northland for the last 2 years. I played a tremendous amount of city team softball, fast pitch softball in Ashland when I was in high school mostly, and played on some of the real top teams in the area that they had at that time.
They were good in those days too.
Yeah. So then when I went out into teaching, in that I was assistant coach in basketball, varsity basketball, JV 1 year, and then head basketball coach 2 years, and I assisted football for the 3 years I was there. So and played a lot of city team stuff. After, when we were here, we used to have in softball, we had the teachers and the preachers.
Oh,
Softball team.
Remember those?
Here played, and God, these teams,
thought about it forever.
the teams out in Red Cliff and over in the island just like to beat the hell out of us. We had the teachers and the preachers playing a softball together. God, that was their big day at night when we played softball with guys. We had Tom Frizzell and Marvin and Hanson, Bob, and some other.
But then
ball
after the
players and
games
stuff,
were
so-
over, we go out to Pit La Points.
Pitts,
Is that what it was?
You couldn't
Drink
get out of
beer
there.
with 'em.
Pitts Country Store.
Oh,
I couldn't
They
get away
just-
from them.
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
so
We would
much
go out
fun.
there.
They were such
Playing
good
city
guys
team,
out
city
there.
team ball, but.
Yeah, they really
now was that like a city team or an informal?
No, they had a league in the area here. They had 1 or 2 teams from Red Cliff, and then the island team, and then we had the teachers and the preachers. There were 4 or 5 teams that played in the league thing in the summer here, in town, and then out at Red Cliff and over in the island. The island would load up in the summertime because they had a lot of these younger kids and stuff would come and spend the summer with their folks on the island. So
We did a lot of baseball with the kids too during those times. The girls, when our kids were growing up, when Denise was just growing up, what was she in 7th, 8th grade or whatever it was anyway, and she wanted to play baseball on the boys team, and we had to do a lot of soul searching with Mike Bonney with that one because Beth wanted to play also.
Mm-hmm.
Those were fun times.
Yeah, they didn't want girls in. That was, they had the Little League stuff, and the girls couldn't get in. The girls couldn't get in. They didn't want any. Well, then it wasn't it Karen Galazin too? There were either 2 or 3 of them that wanted to play ball, and we were kind of hopefully trying to be forceful to let them play and everything. And we had a school board meeting one night. Mike Bonney was on the board at that time, and we were still trying to promote getting Janny Bonney, his daughter, in and whatever. And he says, Don, he says, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. He says, they're not going to play. Bummy Rabideau wasn't too happy with that, and Billy Joe Basney wasn't very happy with that. Some of these coaches and stuff, to have girls come in and play in Little League baseball. So we had a very, very lengthy school board meeting. Very lengthy. Come out of the school board meeting down what used to be the recreation room in the school in the lower level. There was classrooms there now, but we went out there and come out to the car at, I think it was, the board meeting lasted till like 12:30 at night. Come out in the car, and I opened the door of my car, and I said to Mike Bonney, come over here. He comes over, opened the back door of my car, and what is sitting on the seat of my car but this bag with all the catcher stuff, with all the bats, with all the balls, with all the gloves and everything. Billy Joe Basney had quit and put it there. And we ended up, we had those kids playing ball. And that was, they had Todd Bonney was playing, and
JD.
JD Lind.
And they all wanted the girls to play with them because they were good.
Yeah.
Gary DePerry, John DePerry, all of these kids playing, and so the girls played, and they not only won the league that summer, but they have a playoff game at the end down at Grandview, and they won that thing. Also down there.
Wonderful.
What did Billy say then?
I don't think he talked to me for a long time.
Yeah.
But he'd have to take a car and go, and I'd have to take a car and go because the parents there weren't anybody around.
We loaded
So
the
it
kids
ended
in.
up where
Loaded
the
the
two of
kids
us
in and
had-
took off down to Grandview, and I think they played at Mellon, I think, and Washburn and Bayfield, Ashland. The games.
Our boys were very good about helping
Yeah.
with those younger kids, though, and of course they played in the Little League as they were growing up. And then, what was that? What was the league called? Northern, the older one where the boys played.
Upper 13.
Okay, they played in that too, and of course we went to all those ball games. You'd think we'd stay home once in a while, but maybe that's why we keep going now to all our grandchildren's
It's in
games.
your blood, you love that
You're
stuff.
great sports fans.
Oh yeah.
I know that I'll get back to the school here in a little bit, but let's travel a little bit to the left. And I know that part of your life has been involved with the Bethesda Lutheran Church, and I think you got kind of involved. I can still see those little kids of yours in the pews behind me there in church. Tell us a little bit about your association with Bethesda and that type of thing, Don, if you would, and Chick.
Well, Chick has been, I think it's called the president of WELCA, women's group in the church for, I think, 100 years now, but it might be 20.
Is that the former Ladies' Aid type of thing? Or?
Yes,
Probably,
exactly.
Okay.
They don't call it
So-
Ladies' Aid anymore.
Yeah.
Well, we grew up Christian and going to church and stuff like that, and so when we got here, then we started to go when our kids were real young. We always had to, when they were young, we always had to sit in the front pew because you get 1, 2, 3, 4 kids. Chick trying to get 1, 2, 3, 4 kids ready to go to church in the morning, and the time that it takes and everything. By the time we got out of here and where we lived and whatnot to go to church, the church older people come and it starts filling from the back to the front. It doesn't go the other way like
Yeah.
when you want to go
Nobody
to
wants to
sporting
be up
events.
front, yeah.
You go to a sporting event, you want to sit in the front. You go to church, you want to sit in the back. So we had to sit in the front, and we still do.
Yeah.
And when our kids are here at Christmas or whatever, we still sit in the front. Even
Oh,
if nobody would be there,
that's
we
your
would sit in
pew.
front.
Creatures
Yeah,
of habit.
that's true.
Yeah,
It's your
yeah.
pew. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, Bob, when we
That's what we
when
do,
we came
so.
when we moved to Bayfield, the minister that married us in Ashland was a substitute minister for the one that was supposed to. He had some problems anyway, so he had a minister from the Nigerus Lutheran Church in Ashland, and so we moved to Bayfield. And who should be the minister at Bethesda when we moved to Ashland or to Bayfield was Reverend Helland, and
Okay.
he married us in Ashland.
I remember him.
So, and then he wasn't there very long though. And then you probably remember Pastor Paulson.
Yeah,
Phil
he's
Paulson.
the one. He's the one that confirmed me. So
Oh, really? Okay.
Phil Paulson.
Well, he's just a dear friend of ours, and we grew up. Our kids grew up kind of with him, and Grunwald was the other one.
Yeah.
But Pastor Paulson always would say, "You bring those kids to church." Because he said, I can talk above any one of those kids when they're making noises in church. I can talk above any of them.
Oh.
Those kids belong in church. And so that's kind of why we always ended up going in the front pews of the church. And he told us at the time, how would you like to sit way in the back of the church and look at the backs of these people all the time? Back their backs and the back of their heads. Sit up in the front where those kids can see what's going on. And we have been sitting in the front most
That was
ever
a
since.
wise recommendation on his part. When you think about it, kids can't
Absolutely.
see over these big heads. Especially guys like Verdane Hanson sitting in front of you, you won't see nothing.
He sits in back of us now
Does he?
at church, yeah.
And as the kids were growing up in church, then we had a lot of kids in church at that time. All the Hausers, both families of Hausers, and the Andersons, Pavlas, Hansons. We just had a whole load of them.
Our group
Gary
was just-
Connell's
yeah.
kids. They were all in church. Anyway, so when they were little, I started a little choir. So we all had the little kids sang in the choir, and I played the piano for them, and that's how we kind of started with that. And then of course they grew up with the ministers going to the national conventions. And one year, Pastor Grunwald decided that, along with the parents, that it would be more advantageous to these kids to go out west and visit this place and that place and stuff, rather than going down south again to the national convention. So he took our kids, and that was Denise and Darren, Jay Hanson, the Hausers. Anyway, he took them out west, and Shirley and I took care of their kids, the Grunwald kids.
Oh, I
They were
see.
just little at the time, and so we took care of them, and they took care of our kids.
You remember
It's
the
just
old summer schools that we used to have there at the church?
Bible schools.
Bible
Yes,
school.
yeah.
I especially remember old Tula Larson and Signe
Bet.
Carlson and that group. Did you guys participate much in that with your kids in those days? And
Always.
if you did, tell us what the atmosphere and what it was like to go to Bible school at Bethesda.
Well, the kids we did so many different things at that time, and there were so many kids that it was, they just had a good time. We'd go outside and play ball. We'd, of course, do our Bible lessons first, and we'd sing, and then we'd eat and have a snack. And so all the kids really loved it.
So
It
how
was
long
wonderful.
did Bible school last in the summer then? Was it a week or so?
It was like 2 weeks, I think. It
2
might
weeks.
have been 3, but I
Was
think
it
it was
half
2 weeks.
days?
And it was just half
Yeah.
days in the morning. Yep.
Those are the most fun days of my life. I'll never forget the Kool-Aid and the egg salad sandwiches and the strawberry Jello with fruit in it.
Oh, sure,
You know,
bananas.
that was a staple in those days.
Yep.
Those were the most fun times ever in my life. Great times. Who was a part of your teaching crew there for Bible camp there?
Just the parents.
Uh-huh.
It was Shirley
Yeah.
Hanson and myself and Sandy Pavla. Sandy was the artist.
Mm-hmm.
And I am not a very good musician, but I ended up having to play the piano. I can do that a little bit, but and now in church we have like 4 people that are accomplished pianists in our church. So I stay away from the piano. I'll tell
We
you
had
that.
Helen Cease and Helen Matson in my day. So.
Exactly, Helen Madsen was really the
Boy, and you told the Mark too, and you didn't start anything until she nodded her head.
So we had lots of fun in Bible school.
Yeah, that was
lots
a
of
great
fun.
experience.
And we had a lot of kids that would come to Bayfield in the summertime to visit that came to the Bible schools.
Your favorite pastor probably was Phil Paulson then, maybe? Did you really kind of like him a lot? And Phil and Vi, right?
We loved Pastor Phil.
Yes.
And then when he ended up going to Ashland and leaving us because of our 2 congregations having to merge, and then he could not be minister at either place, so he stayed.
He went to
in
Good
Ashland.
Shepherd or something, didn't he?
Yes.
No, what do you mean the 2 congregations?
Bethesda and Corny went together, and we had a 2-point parish then that went from Bayfield to Corny, as opposed from Bayfield to Ashland. Pastor Paulson was the minister in Ashland and Bethesda, and then driving back and forth. But then we changed parish points, and we went from Bayfield to Solon Springs. So,
That's Chick's sister.
we
You
went
better
to.
shut that off.
After
Hear that
Pastor
thing.
Paulson was in Ashland, we still went there many times. And then he went from Ashland, he went down to Seymour, Wisconsin. And one weekend when we were down in that area, we went to church. We decided to go to Pastor Paulson's church, and we walked in and we sat in the back, or up a little bit, and everybody thought that he was Pastor Phil's brother.
Was that right?
Yeah, and of course Viv was right on us immediately. So, and Phil saw us in the audience anyway, and he made mention of it. And then he went to Rice Lake, and Rice Lake, of course, is where my sister Ree lives, and
Okay.
so he was the minister in Rice Lake. And that's when he died, when he was there. And
What went on with him in that death anyway?
at where?
What happened? What he seemed to me he was
He was
my
sick.
father's age in that group and period in time, and he seemed to me premature to pass it at that stage. He was only in his 60s, wasn't he?
Probably.
I
Viv
think
just
so, yeah.
died here
Last fall.
last year, and
She
she was
did.
80. I think she was 85. She had always said, or maybe she was 89. She always said she wanted to live to be 90, but then she had a leg cut off. She had diabetes and stuff, and she said, the last time we talked to her, she said, well, I don't know if I really want to live to be 90.
Is that what she said?
So,
Now, there used to be 2 Lutheran churches in Bayfield, right? And then there used to be the Swedish Lutheran. And
no.
But way before our time.
Yeah,
I know it was before your
Yep,
time.
yep.
There used to be
Really?
right in
Where
that
was
time.
that?
About a block and a half away.
Yeah, they were close to each other.
See, Bethesda and the Swedes, they got together. They just couldn't sustain 2
Yeah, but where
parishes.
was the other church?
Just go west a block and a half.
What's there now?
what's her name at the Park Service?
How?
Olaf Selfers used to live on that corner. Olaf Selfers built that house where the Park Service lady lives after that church was torn down.
I don't even know where that
And
is.
they tore down the Swedish Lutheran Church.
Right.
Right, and they kept the Norwegian Lutheran Church.
The
So
Swedes,
we're Norwegian and Swedish.
Yeah, right.
yeah, but originally it was the Norwegian Evangelical Lutheran Church, and they changed it to Bethesda at some point.
Yeah,
What the hell? I don't know how to do anything more with it.
that's okay.
Pull the plug out.
Yeah. Interesting, little footnote to that church. It's been around since 1893, and the founding fathers were Norwegian, obviously, and they were the Ole Hadlands and the Bensons, Charlie Bensons, and Jacobsons, and that type of thing. So it was truly an evangelical Lutheran church, and all these people they had the Sunday schools and the ladies' aids back in those days, so it was a fun period in time then too. But it was the centerpiece of the immigration in those days. When you come from Norway and you couldn't speak a lick of the language, you went to the Norwegian Lutheran Church. And my dad's first experience there was he's the first class that didn't have to learn the catechism in Norwegian. All the other kids in the family had to learn it.
Do you know what the difference between a gay Norwegian and a straight Norwegian is?
No.
Don't, you're telling it now. You go ahead.
Look at Don just
a straight-
Eating out here.
A straight Norwegian likes butter. A gay Norwegian likes Oli. That's pretty clean.
Yeah,
That's good.
yeah. Good.
We're gonna have to black that one out.
We miss
Turn the
you at
lights off.
church, however, Bobby Nelson.
Uh-oh, now we're gonna get preached at here about it.
We'll
Yes.
save that.
Yeah.
We'll save that.
I still love the.
But in the little town I grew up in, North Dakota, on the prairie, we had 3 Lutheran churches.
Wee.
We had the ELC, Evangelical, and we had the American Lutheran Church. That's what my family belonged to.
Okay.
And then the Missouri Synod
Oh,
Lutheran
yes.
Church, which was the most conservative of the 3.
Right.
There were 3 separate Lutheran churches in a town of 800 people, along with 6 other churches
Oh boy.
of every denomination. So it was, yeah. Well, and there used to be a church right next to Mary Rice's, the old Methodist church.
Yeah.
Was there until it burned down.
Well, he grew up in the Missouri Synod.
Yeah. So you know about that.
I was
Yes.
evangelical.
Yeah.
Old German.
Yep, the Germans.
Oh
yeah.
boy.
See, I lived in a German, Russian, Norwegian community, and that was part of it too.
Interesting side notes to that stuff. Don, were you ever involved in the management of the church, and did you hold positions of leadership there?
Well, I was on the, I don't know, either 1 or 2 terms as council president over a time period, and I think one time I substituted there. It's a very good experience to do. It takes time like anything else, but it's a good thing even in a small congregation. And of course we do, when it's time to be a reader, to do that. I haven't done that much the last couple of years, but last Sunday I did. That dumb thing, huh? Yeah, I'd pull that plug right out. This will be good on film, won't it?
It's all part of it.
That was pretty good that she kept quiet for so long, though. Starting. But that does that 3 times. And in the middle of the night, sometimes you wake up and you can hear that out here.
I don't know why.
Well, what is it? Is it an answering voicemail thing, or?
Temperature gauge outside.
Oh, it's the
It's
temperature.
outside.
Oh, it's the
But
temperature
the
gauge.
record
There we
is
go.
supposed
Took
to
the
plug out. Good thing it doesn't give the time. Temperature is okay,
Yeah,
but
you took the battery out now.
but anyhow, yeah,
Absolutely.
I we've done that. As I said, Chick has been president of Welka for umpteen years, so did that, and some of the other stuff relative to community. This was a really good one. I thought important when they took the old post office out and put the new one where it is now, and Chummy Chapey was on that thing, and they had to have a opening ceremony and that whole thing, and I was asked to do that, which I did when they had the thing to honor that coming in. I think that was under Nixon
Yeah.
when the post office was there.
Where was the old post office?
Right on Main Street, right next to Andy's.
Yeah. First National Bank.
Yeah.
Tommy Plasky
Yeah,
filled
the
that
bank was
part.
on the corner, and then the next one was the post office was there.
And then Jack Lee was next to him.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
Tommy Plasky's.
Yeah.
Well,
Was
that
Tommy
way,
Chafee also the postmaster in the old post office too then?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for many years probably.
Yeah, yes,
Yeah.
yeah, long time. The one of the other things that I did was when they, you'll remember this one even at your age, was when the feds came out with money relative to restoration on the courthouse
okay.
with that whole thing. I think Brub Walksmith was mayor at that time, pushing that thing through, and I think Obie was instrumental in getting a lot of money for that and doing that whole thing, and purchased the thing from Leon McCarty for $1,400 or something, or 14,000. I can't
Something
remember
like
what it
that,
was,
yeah.
but it really wasn't worth anything. You remember when we went in on an early date to go in that building and look around, you're almost like you didn't want to walk in there except with a hard hat on that thing. And I was, Brub had asked me, I was chairman of the court, it was called the Courthouse Commission
Okay.
at that time, the courthouse building at that time.
You worked with
And
Phillips and Biddy Benton, Mrs.
yeah,
Benton. And,
yeah, that was a tremendous amount of work, because you're under the Government Services Administration, GSA, I think it was
Okay.
called, or is called, like that, and it was so technical all the time. Everything they had to go by the book, by the line, by the spelling, and the whole bit to get all of these things done, and the blueprints and everything. It's been a tremendous amount of time on doing that, and I stayed. And we had to go to council meetings and that too, because it was always a subject of the city council at that time relative to the courthouse commission in that. And I say Brub asked me to chair that, and I did up until the time and somewhat beyond when it was done. But there were so many things in there where they had to follow all of these codes, and this didn't meet the code and that didn't, and they had to have the elevator, and which is okay. I mean, those things were good, but it took time. And it was one of the real biggies they had at the end was in the winter time, I think, and here there's icicles umpteen long hanging down from the buildings. They had to figure out how to do something so that wouldn't happen. Someone would get killed underneath there somewhere, like that. But that was a real
you raised quite a bit
tremendously
of
hard.
money for that too, if I recall.
Yeah. There was a really long time to do that, and I stayed well beyond that I stayed, I think, until they first started to get the first monies and that from the feds on that, and then that was time to go because it was done.
Well, that's probably similar to your grant writing processes
I
at
suppose,
the
yeah.
school. To
Yeah.
some degree, it was probably painstakingly, tedious type of work. But I mean, it's something you had to do your whole life up there with,
Well, yeah,
whether it was Johnson O'Malley or any of those things that you applied for. It's just you had to cross the T's and dot the I's and pray. I
He was
guess.
out at Redcliffe for 14 months too.
Yeah, there was a little problem that went out there where.
Yeah.
Well, back to the courthouse. What period was this when you were doing that down?
That's a good one. Geez, that's got to be back in they've been there a long time now. I'd say late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah, I'd say the late
And so this was
70s.
when the courthouse was bought by the city,
Yes,
right?
yep,
And then renovated with federal money.
yes.
That's what you're talking
Yep.
about. Under what kind of program was that?
I cannot think of the name of it. There was a distinct name
But it was some kind of historical preservation.
I thought it was
that.
just a
I
government
can't
program.
remember. I
Yeah,
know they were
okay.
trying to get preservation monies, I think, over some of that time period for that, but I think it was in the city. The city ran the thing, except
Did you
they.
get some Park
Money
Service money
came
out of
from
that
that.
deal, Department of Interior?
I can't remember.
Yeah.
I can't remember that far back. I just remember it was very important for the community and on the whole National Lakeshore thing here to be able to put that thing in and do that.
They wanted a home for the National
Yeah,
Park Service,
yeah.
so I think they worked together with them a little bit.
Yeah.
The year is 1999, and we've been threatened with lawsuits up at Bayfield schools for not having accessibility, and I won't get to any names or anything. But at that point in time, you were still, I don't know if you were still superintending down in Minong or whatever, but
Which
you know,
one? Huh?
yeah, which one? But I know at that point in time the district had quite an issue there about whether to build a new school, whether to tear down the old one, whether to renovate. And I know that they hoodwinked you into coming up and starting to manage some of the money and making sure that the school district has that new addition, which which was finished in 2001. Don, so tell us a little bit about the role that you played when you came back to Bayfield Schools one more time to help them out to build that new addition.
Well, on that one, that was LaRose had been Bruce LaRose had been administrator here, and that thing came up as to what they wanted to do and plans and architects and that, and the school board did an evaluation on him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any more to say about that part of it. Mm-hmm. But anyhow, he resigned, and I was sitting here one night over there.
So by now you've been retired for how many years?
Well, I retired in 1990 originally, but
Yeah.
I took on a number of. Bob might want to ask me some of those. What did I do right after, 2 days after I retired from Bayfield? We can do that next.
Yeah.
But anyhow, on that one, they had gotten a start on some of these things, but it was way off somewhere as to what was supposed to happen. One of the, of course, was the demolition of Walter Wasmuth's house and the whole to-do that went with all of that, and they were working on some of these type things with timelines, and they were going after federal monies. They was called QZAB, Qualified Zone Academy Bonds, and LaRose had done some initial legwork in that to try to see about getting some money from this person and some from Red Cliff and some from over here and some from there. And you had to have it lined up so that you got something in the neighborhood of 10% of the cost
For the match grant
of the thing and to pay back. And when I started there, we're over in that building over there, and Nancy Eaton's upstairs and I'm upstairs, and you're going through all of these things to try to do that. Well, I got sitting here minding my own business at home one night, and the phone rings, and it's Tommy Joe Gordon on the phone. He says something about Don. He says something had happened tonight is at the board meeting. I said LaRose quit, and I didn't know from scratch. I said LaRose quit. That's right. How do you know that? I just thought about it. Something. He said you need some help. Will you come up? I said yes. That went over really big.
Yeah.
And I said yes. And when can you start? I said tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock. And that's what I did. That went over really big too. So anyhow,
I know another incident.
well, that was after some of these others, you see. And so I said I would do that, and we had to put that whole qualified QZAP thing together and all that with the money parts of it and the whole bit. So then I did stay until we were ready to move in and do the whole Smyrna. That was very difficult. One of the first days when they started to do construction, we almost lost the gymnasium and everything that went with it, because there had been a break in the water pipe underneath, and the whole thing was just, we were on our way to Canada. We were here yet, and I get the phone call, you gotta come up. So went up there, and it all came out okay, but that was big money.
Well, Don, you were
Big
part of
money.
that, part of the process, which rather than spend $14 million to build a new school, we did buy some property, but instead we spent about $7 million,
Yeah.
to renovate the
yeah.
whole school, and Don played a very large role in putting that package together. So.
Well, it was nice to get something like that where you were getting federal money, not stimulus money like they call it nowadays, but to get federal money on that, where the you had to raise so much money in order to get this done relative to the interest payments and that, and then these people or who were putting money in or whatnot would stick with it, and I guess it's still going very, very well.
Yeah, and everything's so far
I
to
understand,
date. We're
yeah.
haven't got everything paid off yet, but we're working towards it. And the school is solvent, and we got a very, very fine school now. So, but there's another little interesting thing for the people of the future is that after Don was kind of like serving in that position for a while, and he said, I got getting a lot of pressure from home here. And so off he he goes a little bit and stuff like that. And in the year 2006, I believe it is, I make a motion on the board because at that point in time the superintendent of schools had decided to leave for whatever reason, and the school district was in a pickle. And so once again we sent the message to Don: do you think you could come in here and help us out at least half-time? And so Don was also, you were down at the Minong schools, and you come back to help us out through that period of time until we hired Linda Cornelius in 2007 there. So I'm pretty sure Chicky was not too happy when you picked up the phone again that time. But it had
Didn't bother me a bit.
yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Every time he'd see me in the hallway, he'd point at me, "You're the troublemaker here." But the point is this: is that Don has come back to that school district upon request, and many times during the 30 to 40 years now, actually 50 years, you've got some type of involvement now. Because probably might have something for you next week too, Don. You never can tell.
So Don, what was your job when you were called again this last time?
Superintendent.
Superintendent.
District administrator.
Were you full-time?
Yes.
And for how long? When did you start and when did you leave?
Well, the last time in 06, 07, it was something like, I think 9.25 months here. But at that same time, I had been at Minong for 3+ years. And then I finished at Minong and on June 30th of 07 along with Bayfield on June 30th of 07. So I was doing both of them at that time and trying to stretch both school districts. When I had gotten the call from Minong was in 03. That was my second stint at Minong from 03 to 07. That was 4 years. That's a long drive every day.
4 in the morning.
That's correct. Chick told you that.
No, you told me that.
I get up at 3 or 3:30 in the morning and leave at 4 in the morning.
You commuted every day?
Yep. I think in the 4 years I was at Minong, I think I may have stayed overnight either in Minong or in Hayward maybe 4 times maximum where I stayed over. Otherwise I would go and do that, and the next morning I would either be the first or second one in the door. The head custodian would be the other.
Well, how could you do 2 schools at once?
Because I work hard. That's true. I don't know if I'd say I'm a workaholic. I believe in what I'm doing and to do the best that I can at it. And that's if you don't do it that way, then don't do it. That's the only way to do something like that. And that's how I am.
But he got paid by the hour. He didn't. He wasn't under contract at any place that he went after he quit at Bayfield
So more
in
of a consultant,
1990. He
kind of
never went
consulting
under
basis.
contract.
No, I wasn't consulting.
You were running it, but
He's running the show.
Yes.
But you weren't under contract.
No,
like
I
is
told
normal.
No
I
contract.
told every time I did that, including 2 or 3 days after I retired from Bayfield, that I would give the best that I had each day that I was there, and that I was not out to protect myself with contracts and language and fringe benefits and those kinds of things, but to protect the board, because all they had to do was to tell me, you are done today, or tomorrow's your last day, or whatever. And that was to protect them, because otherwise, if I were to sign a contract, then I could come after them if something happened. And I was not about to do that. That's not the way to do it. It was not a good scenario that I wanted for them to have. And it was the same thing at Bayfield. One of the 2 times I came back, I have a lifetime license, so I'm not worried about renewal of a license or going back to school or anything like that. With any of that, it's you do the best you got each day.
Interesting footnote is we've just been talking to you as Don Anderson here, but it should be noted for the record too that it's Dr. Don Anderson, so it just goes beyond his academic status is much higher than just Don here, and that should be footnoted too.
Where did you
Many
get
of the kids call him Dr. Don. They still
Our
do.
own kids do.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, my own kids do. And, they have that from the University of Minnesota also, main campus.
Mm-hmm.
And that was from in the late 60s was when you had the Students for Democratic Society,
Right.
SDS.
and you had students at colleges and universities in Berkeley and all places hither and yon from there, raising hell with schools and with school systems, university systems, and the whole bit. And you also had some of that in schools with minority populations like that. And I got to wondering, in looking out the window at kids at noon hour and stuff out there with the long trench coats on in Bayfield and stuff like that, as to what is happening here. And you don't get it by just sitting there. You get it by studying, by thinking, by watching, see what's going on. And I decided at that time that I needed to see what the best I could what this was all about. So I got verbal permission from the school board, and I took some summer classes, and then some, of course, you have to write a dissertation along with all of that goes with that. But to take some time where I would have to be at the university setting in Minneapolis in the main campus, not home on a computer or have someone send me videos or anything like that, but to be there. So I did that and got the additional, was enrolled in the doctoral system, which I knew I could get in it because I had done well in the master's degree thing. So I got that, and one of the years I did it, I gave this scenario to the board that to put me on half-time, contract-wise, and I would make sure I did all of it. And then I had to go to school then one summer, I think maybe 2 summers or short class things, and then had to go during the week that they were on for the fall quarter and the spring quarter at Minnesota, and then I was done with the credits with the exception of my dissertation. So I did that under that circumstance, and again it was to protect the school board. I didn't need that at that time, and they were very willing to go along with it, and I would come home and work my tail off during weekends that I was gone. Those are all popular things to do. Whatever. But so anyhow.
Well, we know that you've done schools and done religion and stuff like that. How about some of those wonderful trips to Canada and stuff like that? Do you ever do a little bit of that, fishing with the old cronies? And
Well, we started here back this was in the late 60s and in the 70s and that, I think, where we would go, and it would be John Spencer and Bob and Hanson and me and Marvin Bergschneider went one time, Dan Brown.
Ted Shelvin even went.
Ted Shelvin even went one year with us up there. He'd get up early in the morning. He'd be up drinking coffee before anyone else got up.
Yeah,
Like we used to do that. We would take a week off, everybody, and of course, I would be working my tail off so I could go. And these guys, of course, it was the first weekend when school was out.
Sure, they're
Like that. So I always had to make up the time when you come back because it's all sitting there yet. It was always sitting there. But we did a lot of that and we were good friends with so many of the staff members here and that. And it isn't anything where it's you did this to get them to do better at school or whatnot. It's just that's friendship.
yeah, nice camaraderie.
Yeah.
So where did you go in Canada then?
Well, we used to go to up near Kenora, Monackey area, with the guys up there and fish the lake system up there.
And where is that?
When you go up through, International Falls and then straight up north and you to Kenora. It's like 180 miles north of
The falls.
International Falls.
Yeah, I've been up there. Yeah.
Kenora is a big city.
And
Yeah.
then the women went out to Millie's cabin.
Yeah, they went out to Millie's cabin off Frog Bay.
Oh God.
Yeah, with all the kids. There was Knoxheim's they had 5 kids. We had 4. No, they had 4 kids. Shirley had her 3 kids, and Pavlin never came. But we had just a whole bunch of kids, and we
How's
laid
John
on the beach all
Knoxheim
the
doing
time.
these days? Do you know? See much of him anymore? Or?
Yeah, he's got some kind of a what's it called? I'm trying to think of a generational disease. Is that not the right word though?
Degenerative.
Degenerative
Yeah.
thing that his uncle or something had in his family too, where you start falling down and can't take things. He's still very gung ho about living and sports, and he did coaching at Drummond for a long time. Biggest mistake he ever made in his life was when he left Bayfield and went to Washburn.
Mm-hmm.
He admits that. He'll tell you that to your face.
He wouldn't in them days. He wouldn't. But
Well, his kids were going to play football there. See, and John was an All-American football player
at UMD.
when he was at UMD.
Yeah.
You didn't ask me yet, and I want to say this before we leave here very shortly, or whenever you guys go, but you can stay as long as you want, as to when I retired.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, like I say, I was done June 30th of 1990, and it was either 2 or 3 days after that in a week, and the phone rang here at home, and it was the school board president from Drummond. I'd never met the guy, never heard of him before, and he said something to the effect, the school superintendent there, whose name was Jim Adams, they called him Grizzly, as in the TV thing, Grizzly Adams,
Grizz.
and he was as big as Grizzly was, big guy, and that on July 1st of 1990 was the day after the last day of Ondossigan.
Ooh.
June 30th of 1990, Ondossigan was gone.
Shut the doors.
And parts of it
the
went
school
to
you're
Ashland.
talking about. The school down.
Yep, the
on
Ondossigan
Highway
School District.
50.
And the kids there went to Washburn, Ashland, and Drummond. The Drummond had a portion, an apportionment of it by townships down there. Jim Adams went home for the weekend, big burly guy. Went home for the weekend. He got up, his wife was a big gun teacher in that down in Neenah,
Oh, okay.
I think, and in the Union and all this down there. So he commuted on weekends down there and stayed at an apartment or something in Drummond area. And he went home and he got up at 5 o'clock in the morning to put his 2 dogs out. When his wife got up about 8 o'clock or so and came downstairs from this old converted farm that they had, she came downstairs and he was leaning up against the sliding door like that, motionless. His 2 dogs were outside yipping. He had had a massive stroke. He never did come back, but he lived, but he never lived to come back to school or anything. And so it was a couple days after I was done at Bayfield, the phone rings and I answer it. And school board president said this and such happened, and he said we understand you just retired the other day and whatever. Will you come and help for a couple of days? And I said sure. He says when? I says I'll be there at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. You getting to school? Yeah, they got janitors and stuff. So I get up the next morning and I'm down there and see what the situation was in the whole bit with him. 26 months after that is when I was done at Drummond. We kept trying to find a superintendent that fit. I wasn't there to stay. I didn't want to stay there from that standpoint. If we found somebody and we did the application things and everything and could not get the right fit. 26 months later was my last day there. During the time I was there, we tore down the old high school and built a new school. We did not tore it down We did not miss a day of school in
Interesting.
the 26 months time period that I was there during school days. We sold the school at Cable during the time I was there and rebuilt this whole thing and did a bond referendum and the whole smear for that whole situation till they hired anybody. It was the same thing there. I didn't have a contract with them. I told them what I felt I should have, no fringe benefits and the whole bit, and I'll work my ass off for you. Like that. And of course then after that I was done there and I'm coming, I may have told you this story. I was coming home the last night I was there and driving home, and I'm going a little faster clip than I should have. It was a long school board meeting and whatever, and I get on US 2 where the turnoff is at Steve's Corner, and I head east, and all of a sudden there's flashing lights in back of me, and it wasn't the ambulance. So I pull over along the straightaway, and the car stops. It was a state patrol car, the old blue ones, the old kind, the old car there. So the guy gets out and comes up to me, and I got the car in park, looks up there and I lower the window down, and he looks in the window like this at me, and he says, "Don." And he looked up and I said, "Joe." And I said, "I'm on my way home. This was my last night at Drummond for 26 months there." And he said, "Get the hell out of here."
No Gustafson. Yeah.
I told him that story about a month or so ago, and he couldn't remember part of it, and then he did.
Yeah.
He says, "Get the hell out of here." But that was, and so I think it was a day or so after that, then I get a call from Fort Wayne, the school there, superintendent there, big guy, Dave Wickman. Yeah, Dave Wickman. He wanted to go back to Superior, from whence he came, to be the principal of alternative school up there. Which he wanted to go back that job. He had 2 years as superintendent. He wanted out.
Yeah.
So when can you come up? I says, "When you want me?" I said, "I'm done at Drummond." He says, "Well, come up. There's a school board meeting tonight," or something like that. I didn't know what it was all about. So I go up there, and the library is packed with people. And I thought, oh my God, are they on his case, or the school board's about what? Well, it's some kind of just a general meeting like that. And Dave Wickman gets up. Of course, I knew a couple of board members up there, but Dave Wickman gets up and he says something about his leaving and everything and going back to Superior and how much he enjoyed being a superintendent there. And he says, "We have a new superintendent here." He said, I hadn't even talked to the board. He said, "We have a new superintendent." He said, "Most of you know who he is." He said, "Don Anderson," whatever. So I was there for a year and a half.
And they all got up and cheered.
Oh God.
A lot of them did. But anyhow, so then I'm done the
Little
day.
Bucky Jardine, he's still
Oh,
mad
he was fantastic. He's a fantastic man.
Yeah.
He is a fantastic man.
Yeah.
As a school board member, as a person, you name it. As an athlete when he was a kid.
Yeah.
The
He
whole
was
bit.
something else.
So anyhow, almost to the day that I was done there, and they had gotten a superintendent after trying after, say, a year and a half. And that's when I had my first call to Minong. Well, Minong, they had canned the superintendent after a board meeting one night. They took his keys away. They caught him doing this. That's all I have to say about that. But anyhow, and they nailed him right on the spot with an attorney there and the whole bit, took his keys away from him. And they are in the process of having passed a referendum for $4 or $5 million, whatever it was, new school north of Minong.
What year was that?
Been-
I was there.
This
We had the
this was
WCC
in-
crews there with you. There.
That's right. That's right. We had the one guy on
I'm
the
well aware of
on the tennis courts and ball field. And that stuff.
Don Mead.
Yeah, Don Mead. He was something else. I mean, in a good way. But anyhow, so that was in, let's see, 92, that was 94, 95, school year plus. And when I left there, the new school building was done. And Audrey and I, the head bookkeeper, and I were the last two out of the old school building when
Okay.
they opened that school. That was my first stint.
It was a beautiful
there.
building
Oh,
too.
it is wonderful.
Gorgeous
Yep.
building.
Yeah, it's a wonderful place.
Really nice.
So anyway, I was there at that time. I was there for a year and a half,
Yeah.
and that was my first stint there. So,
I stopped and saw you a couple of times there actually, so.
yeah.
That
you
was
were in,
fun.
You were in the saddle.
Yeah.
So anyhow, so in from all of that time, after I was retired, that was another 10 years plus the thing at Redcliffe. But you know, and people keep saying, you know, why? I have to tell you this too. I said, why do you do that? You know, do you need the money? No. Do you need a
Yes.
job? No. Whatever. And
I have an
I
expensive
said, but
wife.
from the get go, when I was asked to do that and everything, I say, why do you do that? And I said, well, I contend that I was called to do that. And people normally think that means someone called you on the phone, and I don't mean it that way. I was called to do that. I was called by God to do that. That's what I did.
I remember when you left us, when your final notes to us, and I know you remarked, my memory's pretty decent at the time too, it said school boarding is the second highest calling.
Good one. You did remember that.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Don, one last question that I have. Future of public schools in northern Wisconsin. What's your take on it? Where are they headed? Where are they going to be in 10 years from now?
There are too many things keep coming down the pipe. Like this is not being derogatory toward presidents or anything like that, but some of the things where they don't understand what's out there. This means the whole country, not just here in whatnot, but the whole country. Is that like No Child Left Behind? I mean, that was not good legislation. A lot of the things on Title I and all these different titles and all that are not good for the country or anything, because they don't get at the core of kids and parents. And that condition still exists unless parents keep coming into things more and more and not get on school boards because of how they feel, not as a parent, but how they feel it should be, or get clicks or audiences that they get for their doing things, and those are not good things.
Don't play your personal agendas.
Yeah, don't do the personal agenda thing. I can't see, like, what might happen with Bayfield and some of these is you have to go as long as you can and put out a good product and have people backing and get more money in, but not all of these things over here that's a little bit here, and trying to restructure education and all of those kinds of things.
Micromanage the
micromanagement is good, and too much of the micromanagement is done by the federal government instead of giving money to
the pros.
run the thing.
Yeah.
Like that. So it's a tough grind. I would hang on as long as I felt.
Well, at this point in time, and just for the record here too, the school district is solvent. We're paying our debts, and we have $4.4 million once again in the kitty, and we've established retirement funds, and so I mean I think we've managed our money well. On the other hand, other schools in the area are I consider to be they're going to have some real reckonings here closely because of the state of Wisconsin and the funding formulas and the amount of money available to them, and it just looks bad for a number of districts in the old Indian Head as we know it. So, so I just wonder what your take is on it and where they'll all be. Do you see large consolidated schools done, or do you see us little boys up here hanging on for a few years or 20 years or?
Well, I would feel more to try to hang on, and hopefully that at some point in time the federal government more than the state government would get their act together relative to funding schools and whatnot, and then not have select groups of people who work there, send kids there or whatnot, will get together and realize that you have to give and get. You have to give something in order to get something. And nobody's just going to hand it to you on a silver platter. And you got to do your best. You have to follow school curriculums that are set up and try to do what's
Meet
on
the
those
standards.
curriculums and meet the standards. That's it. That's what has come down the tube. You've got to meet the standards or try to meet the standards. What good do you think it does down at Glidden, and you live, let's say, on the north side of Glidden, or you live on the south side of Park Falls, and you have to send your kid from here through here over to here, or the same thing,
Vice versa.
vice versa, and try to have those kids be worth an awful lot during the day after a bus ride that far. You're not
Bigger
going
is
to get
not
there
better.
by you're not going to get there by helicopter.
No.
So maybe they could put that new Amtrak system in instead of going from Milwaukee to Chicago. They could put it in from south of Mellon to
Park Falls.
south of Park Falls.
Down in their little shuttle.
We could
An old
we could have
spur.
something. Think of what that would do. You could do it there right away.
Yeah, I know those schools are in tough shape. Butternut, Glidden,
Yes, yeah,
Mellon.
yeah.
Mellon. I was talking with Tom Kreisel, who's the principal down at Mellon down there, and he says,
He's a good guy.
He says, I don't know, we're going to have money for programs next
Yeah,
year.
yeah.
And if you don't have the base, you're out of business.
And when people and cliques start working together in that, it's hard to do it. And it's the same thing with any types of things you have about people who live there. You have to give and you have to get.
Yeah.
That's all there is. That's all there is to it, because you're not going to get it all that you want. And why are you there?
Yeah. It's for the kids.
You're not there for yourself.
It's got to be the cornerstone of your whole board membership needs to be driven by the needs for the kids. You'll never make a bad vote if you look at it that way. I don't have many more to add to this wonderful conversation. It's been delightful. I've learned a lot again, been refreshed a lot about a lot of the old things and fun things. Wonder, Don and Glenna and Chicky, if there's anything you guys want to add to this little scenario, and John, you probably may have some more questions.
Well,
too.
we haven't really gotten a little bit more about your children. You know, where they are now, and just go down their names again for the record, top to bottom, and what they're doing.
All four of our kids are teachers.
They
all
are.
have their teaching degrees. And the oldest one is a teacher in Grantsburg. She is married to a Bayfield boy.
And what's her name?
Her name is Dana, and she's married to Bill Morn. And Betty Morn used to work at school. She was the dearest, best bread baker in school there ever was. And they have 3 children, and both Bill and Dana are volleyball coaches. And they have had very, very successful years in volleyball. They're right now their team Grantsburg just won the state tournament this past year, and their daughter, who is a junior in high school this year, her name is Courtney, and she was voted all state and team and all, what was the other one?
Tournament.
What? All tournament team and all state team.
So
She is
carrying
very
right on your tradition.
she is a tall, skinny kid. And strong as can be.
The Aubrey Murado type of.
Yes.
Not that tall. But
She
she's
is
good.
not as tall, but she's
The word stud is a good word.
She hits the ball with authority.
yes. And she's the baby.
Ah.
So, and then Donnie he's a teacher in Prentice, and it's ironic because I was born in Prentice, and now he's teaching down there. Anyway, he's been teaching there for 20 some years. I can't remember, but anyway, and he's also a coach, and his oldest son graduated from Prentice last year, and he is going to St. Scholastica this year. And so Donnie was the basketball coach, boys basketball coach in Prentice, and when D3, that's what we call them. Here's D1, Donnie's D2, and this one was
Oh.
D3. So
He is really D3. I mean, he is legally
Down
D3.
three,
Yeah.
when he graduated, Donnie quit coaching in Prentice because he wanted to be able to follow his kid. Well, anyway, they have a daughter also who is a junior this year, and she is a very good basketball player. And their basketball coach had some work-related, not problems, but he had to go work at a different site. So they asked Donnie to be a coach of the girls' team. So now he's still coaching
He's
his
still there.
daughter. And then Darren is not married.
What's his daughter's name?
Abby.
And Donnie's married to.
Donnie is married to Paula Erickson,
Okay.
and that's Jim and Muriel's daughter.
Right.
Okay.
And we keep connected here in Bayfield.
Yeah.
And then Darren was a teacher in Rib Lake, and he is no longer teaching. He is in he works in Phillips Plastics in Medford.
Oh.
And he lives in Rib Lake. And no kids. He's got a dog and a cat. He lives right on the lake. He's got a beautiful log house on the lake. Just love it. Very peaceful. And then our baby Denise, who is the athlete, she lives in Wapaka, and she's the math teacher in Wapaka, and she has 3 children, and they've all been athletes. And the oldest one, in fact, we have a picture of him on the refrigerator. He graduated last year from Wapaka High School, and he has a dream to be a major league umpire.
Oh.
So he went to school this past winter down in Florida, and right now he is in Florida over by Cocoa Beach someplace doing umpiring of the college teams that go down and have their spring training and things like that. So we'll see where that ends up. And then their other son is a golfer, and his dream is to be a golf pro, which he will go to school for this coming year. And then the baby is in 7th grade, and she's like her mother. She plays hockey and basketball, and she played baseball, but now she's into softball. Softball was too calm. It was too slow. She wanted to play baseball, but anyway. So she's growing up to be a.
She got game?
What?
Does she have game?
Oh yeah, does she ever? Oh man.
Really on the cusp.
Denise, going back to her high school years, she earned 20 varsity letters in high school, 5 a year.
Boy.
And that was skiing, basketball, volleyball, softball, and track. She also was a cheerleader one year, but those were all, and she earned a varsity letter every year. And she would not have earned a letter as a freshman in volleyball. I was the coach. However, the kids that were on the varsity, they had a little problem with kind of going out one night, and they had to sit. They couldn't play. So, of course, Denise ended up playing enough to earn her letter. So I do not believe there is another one in the Bayfield school that has ever earned 20 varsity letters.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Does she
that
still
is
have her letter?
amazing.
Yeah.
Pardon me?
Does she still have her letter?
I'm sure she still has her letters. The other thing about
That should be something that should be brought down to Bayfield Heritage Association in the long run. Maybe keeping the family all those years to come, but in the long run, there's a section down there that's devoted to the school district. So something like that. Those are real talking pieces.
Actually, I think she's also she has scored the most point in girls basketball also.
An interesting footnote to that though, and we didn't really bring this up, but I still say to this day that Donnie Anderson played on the finest basketball team Bayfield ever produced. They got licked by Colfax before they went to Madison, but that's not the story. The story is Donnie and Mr. Paul Charette and Danny Livingston and Keith Peterson and Greg Larson and the Arden Webbers, because that 78 team was the best basketball team I've ever seen in the Indian Head. They actually beat the Superior senior team, headed by Tom Moody that year. They scrimmaged them. They just pounded them up there in Superior. And that
I have all the
Superior
clippings.
team went to the state and won the state that year. And that was a Class A school, or Division I school in those days. So Donnie was a heck of an athlete too.
Yep.
Heck of a baseball player. And just a really, really good athlete too. So it runs in the family. Darren was too.
Yes,
he played baseball. In the '80s with me on those. We had some really. We were 79 and 13 or something. Our summer baseball team in the upper 13 those years, and Darren was on those teams. So the kid, he had game too. So.
Well, they all worked together. The kids. It was just a part of our life. Mm-hmm. Athletics and going to ball games and doing this and in the summertime, Denise worked on the ferry boats, and she was the first female captain on the ferry boats.
She was.
And she worked for Gary Russell, and he just loved her. So it was,
Kid.
Yeah, it was a
Okay,
good.
I'm out of time again on this card. This is the whole
That's the
Anderson
gang.
clan.
That's the gang.
That's all your kids and their kids.
Yep.
Is that everybody in that picture?
As far as I know.
Yeah. That's a nice picture.
She looks like.
That you see from the highway.
Yeah.
Those windows that are in the front of the church.
Okay.
Okay, now who's on this picture?
Of course,
This is my mother and dad,
What were their names?
Dana and Bill.
Bill and Margaret
What was Margaret's maiden name?
Statler. She was from Germany. She came over on a boat from Germany.
Yeah.
Stadtler.
And your father?
His name is Bill.
Bill, okay. And then down,
My brother's name is Dick.
now which one are you on this picture?
I'm the smaller one.
You're the smaller one in front of your mother.
Yeah.
And your brother?
His name is Dick.
Dick, yeah.
Yep.
Okay. And how old were you in this picture, would you guess?
No, that's another one of Bill's.
6.
School. That's an honor.
So it's been a while since this was taken.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And there's on the back of it, there's nothing here that says that it was taken in whatever year. I was born in 1933, so
Now, you also told me that your mother had died when you were...
I was 19 when my
19.
mother died. My mother was 43 years old when she died.
And what did she die of?
Tubal pregnancy.
Oh, no.
Yep. Bled to death in about 6 hours at night.
Oh, boy.
And my dad died.
What
Yeah.
year was that your mother died?
She died in January of 1953.
And then your dad?
My dad died in December of 54. Almost 2 years, like 22 months later.
And what did he die of?
Smoking cigarettes.
Really?
Cancer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lung cancer? So it wasn't a broken heart, or that probably didn't
No, it
help.
wasn't, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was tough sledding the last 2 years of
Donnie was in
life.
Redwood, Remember that?
It must have been. Yeah.
Rocky, Donnie, Tommy Pulaski.
Okay, so who's on this picture?
That is my brother Dick and me,
And what year?
1941.
1941, and where's the tree?
In Ashland, where my brother lives today yet.
Is that right?
It's in the front yard. The tree, the parts of the tree are still there.
Uh-huh.
Most of it's cut down, but
So this is where you grew up then?
yep.
Right there?
Yep, right there. My brother still lives in that house today.
He does?
Yep. Yep.
Boy.
Yep.
So are you the oldest?
No, my brother's a year, like 16 months older than I am.
16 months older,
Yeah.
yeah.
His birthday will be on April 3rd.
You guys look like quite a pair there. So describe this picture then, Don.
This is a picture of Chick and her mom and dad and all of the brothers and sisters. That's
And,
their
and
full
she's
family.
in the middle in the back row there.
Yes.
And where was this taken probably?
This was taken in their home in Ashland.
So she grew up in Ashland too.
Yes.
And that's how you guys met.
Yeah. Yeah. Her dad was a cheesemaker.
He was.
Yep, that's what he did. He got very crippled up in his older years with rheumatoid arthritis, really bad.
So that's him sitting in the easy chair there.
Yep.
And what was her maiden name again? I've forgotten.
Chicks?
Yeah.
It's Heinz, but it's
Heinz.
not Heinz 57 varieties. Hindes.
Right.
Hindes.
And then what was her parents' first names?
Her dad's name was Chauncey,
Uh-huh.
and her mother's name Helen.
Well, that's Helen. Okay. Okay, so describe this picture then.
Okay, this is Chick's dad with Chick's 3 brothers.
And what were their names?
Jerry with a J, and Larry and Keith.
And Jerry's on the
Jerry's the one with the fancy
fancy sweater.
sweater. Larry's the one on the other side, and Keith is the one with the suit on.
Right. And you said Jerry is buried up here in the Bayfield
Yes. Yep.
Cemetery?
Yep. I think 1975.
Mm-hmm.
A long time ago.
And her father, the cheesemaker, is
He was a cheesemaker. He's the one sitting.
sitting in the easy
Yep.
chair.
Yep.
Okay, so here we got, who's on this now? I'm doing the communion.
That's my brother and myself.
And how old were you then?
I would say probably 12.
And you both, he's older, but you both got your communion at the same time.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
And where was this taken?
At our family home in Ashland.
The big day.
Yeah.
And then over on, I don't know if you could rotate the, so
This
I can
way?
see that, yeah, I'll get the picture of you.
Okay. Yeah, let's see, where is the...
5 years old, 1939,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, yeah.
And you don't know where
38
this was taken? Somewhere in the neighborhood,
No, neither. I don't know either one of them where they were taken.
but in Ashland.
I assume yes.
Yeah, right. Saluting.
Yep. Blocks away from each other.
So tell me again who's on this picture, Don.
John Chappell.
And he's in the, which one is he?
John Chappell is the one with the sailor cap on.
Okay. And what, and he, and the other one is yourself, right?
Yes, yes. And
So-
this was probably like, this would be like, let's see, 33. This would be about 1945. We'd be like 12 years old.
And where's the picture taken again?
The picture was taken at his house, where this Northland big science building is now, on Ellis Avenue in Ashland.
Uh-huh. And tell me again what the Chapel family.
They owned and operated at that time was called the Ashland Daily Press for like 100 years. That they had the Ashland Press in Ashland.
What was his name?
John
Chapel.
Chapel.
Okay.
He was John Chapel III.
And where did you guys get all these ducks?
The Kakagan Sloughs, Bad River area
Just the two of you went out hunting, or did you go out with your dads?
with his dad.
With his dad, yeah. Right.
My dad ran the outboard and we shot the ducks.
What do you have 410?
Yes.
Yeah, that was my first
Good one.
shotgun.
Yeah, that's a 410.
Yeah.
Still knock you on your Canada air age.
I know it. I think I was about 10 years old when I shot
These are not what you would call ducks. These are mud hens.
Yes, mud hens. Yeah,
You know that then
That's
too,
what we
don't
used to
you?
get too. Yeah,
Those are mud hens.
yeah. Great.
Tomahawk area. That's where they're
Can
from.
you say that again?
They were from the Tomahawk area down in Tomahawk, Wisconsin.
So tell
That's
me again
probably-
who's all on this, what clan this is.
That's would be basically his brothers, aunts, and uncles, and whatever. But they're all Hines family. This isn't any of
So this is Chick's.
these would be Chick's
Chick's
aunts,
father's-
uncles, and sister, brother.
And which one is her father again?
The tall one standing right there. That one.
Okay.
Well, he wants to be a physical therapist. I don't know if he still does. He did before he started school.
Whole picture's a little out of focus. That's okay.
Born. Oh, I guess I.
So Chick isn't on this picture. She isn't born
No,
yet.
no, she was not born yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, here it is, right here. This is.
Quite a clan. So this is all the Hines clan.
This is Hines clan, yes.
Okay, let me just pan through.
Anyway, he is in nurse's training, in nursing school. And he's still sticking it out.
And it's good they're all identified on the back.
Yeah, yes.
You got to keep that hooked there because I have
Yep.
so many family pictures we don't remember who it is now.
Yeah. I would guess from looking at the thing on the back that Chick's mother is the one who knew all those people and who wrote the names.
Yeah.
That's her
Yeah.
handwriting.
Yeah.
Boobs. Oh my